Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, homeowners, when is the last time you checked your home title? Scammers are targeting your equity with just a single forged document they file at the county. So don't wait until it's too late. Find out if you are already a victim today. Please go to HomeTitleLock.com and use promo code BILL to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. On this Tuesday, you have to give some credit to the anti-Trump movement for creativity. Consistently, it comes up with unprecedented ways to undermine the president, and in the process causes legal mayhem that progressives cheer. When President Biden took office in 2021, he issued a number of executive orders that badly damaged the nation. Yet Republicans did not attempt to undermine executive authority in the courts. But after Donald Trump assumed office for a second time, Democrats did the exact opposite. They immediately tried to shut down his executive orders, many of which reversed Biden's failed policies. The Dems did this by roaming around the country searching for sympathetic liberal judges, who then issued rulings blocking Trump's vision. Thus, a far-left judge in Washington state or Massachusetts could stop an executive order for the entire country. Well, that was absurd and unconstitutional. I predicted the Supreme Court would slap down the political judges, and on Friday it did. By a 6-3 margin, the nation's highest court said judges cannot stop national policy. They can only deal with individual cases in their jurisdictions. So for now, the brilliance of the Constitution still rules. But progressives are hell-bent in trying to change what Jefferson and Madison envisioned. And those progressives won't stop. Back in a moment. Bill O'Reilly here. If you are stuck in a timeshare you no longer want, my friends at Lone Star Transfer can assist. Over the past 15 years, the family-owned company has helped more than 30,000 owners break free from their timeshares. They'll provide a guaranteed solution to exit your timeshare. So please call Lone Star Transfer 833-594-0079 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Great news. The cold front is now to the south, which means we're going to steadily feel that humidity dropping throughout the day today. Temperatures near 87 degrees. Today's actually the coolest day that we will have for some time. Mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, in the 70s overnight, back in the 90s tomorrow. The humidity begins to creep up by Friday. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
What's happening today? Here's your first dose of the news you need to know. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
The drama around what used to be called the big, beautiful bill. Now I would call it the former big, beautiful pile of, anyway, let's not get started with that kind of language. But the Senate, of course, having people read it to an empty chamber, all 900 whatever pages was the goal. And where do we go from here? Yeah, we've got that update for you in just a little bit. I'm Mike Ferguson. Happy Tuesday to you. On yesterday's show, Monday show, Dan Schneider from the Media Research Center joined us, and we were talking about AI. Now, this is really fascinating because whether or not you're a techie kind of person or whether you're really into the AI and ChatGPT and all of that, and you may not care, but here's the deal. It's going to run things that you use in your life, whether you like it or not. And what we're already finding is that the people who are building it are allowing for or actively building in bias against, well, us and against like President Trump and the Republicans and conservatives. So how do we fight back against that? And what do we need to be aware of? Here's what Dan had to say. With AI, this is one of the things where, okay, the feature is that it collects knowledge, it builds on itself. That's the artificial intelligence part of this. But you all and some others have looked into what is AI favoring and what is it saying in different times? And first of all, we can start with bias against President Trump in one way, but does that extend to the overall conservative thought or partisan wise Republican thought? So are we building from a foundation of bias right now? And then we can get into what that means.
Right. You're exactly right. Earlier, you were talking about how AI is trained on models. It doesn't go out and look for information. It is fed information. It's trained on information. And then the algorithms, the notorious algorithms are drafted in ways to manipulate that information. So what's going on? Well, of course, it's the left that is controlling these algorithms, and they are training these algorithms on media of their choice, on content of their choice. And in every case, it is left of center or hard left data that these AI programs are being trained on. From right out of the chute, these AI systems are being designed to harm conservatives, to propel liberals forward. And then the algorithms are being manipulated specifically to exclude more information on the right. So let me give you some examples. Right after the Hamas attacks on October 6th, we went on to Grok's system, the Google AI system.
Or October 7th, I think you meant, right?
I'm sorry, October 7th. Yeah. And Google's AI system could tell us exactly what the Irish Republican Army is and what the Black Lives Matter is, but it couldn't tell us what Hamas is. It would simply respond, I'm a large language model. I can't tell you what that is. And it could tell us the capitals of every country connected to Israel, surrounding Israel, and any other country on the planet, but it could not tell us what the capital of Jerusalem is. Now, Google has now changed that. So if you run that experiment today, but it's still, Grok, Elon Musk's Grok is the only AI system that can definitively say without ambiguity what the capital of Israel is today. Why? Because the left doesn't want to concede that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. I find this crazy that the same systems that will say, well, you can't tell what a man and a woman is, or that you're whatever you say you are, they allow somebody to say, I'm a man or I'm a woman, but they will not allow Israel to say what its own capital is.
Yeah. So, Dan, is this a matter of reflecting the media that's out there already, or is this a matter of building that up even in addition to what's out there? Because I could see somebody say, well, the media is already captured by the left for the most part. So if there's more coming in from the left than the right, it's gonna win out just by sheer numbers in an algorithm. Or is this intentionally building that in?
It's both. I mean, it's both. I'll call it a collusion because you've got media outlets that have signed contracts, literal contracts with these AI companies, and Wikipedia is involved in it all. So Wikipedia has blacklists. And these blacklists are published. You can actually see the companies, the media outlets that Wikipedia blacklists. If you try to offer an amendment to somebody's webpage and you're citing to a media outlet that it's blacklisted, Wikipedia will not accept that amendment. And of course, every organization, every media outlet that Wikipedia blacklists is either a right of center media outlet or it's a pro-Israel or pro-Jewish organization like the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, which is a notoriously left of center group, but because it's pro-Israel, Wikipedia excludes it. And then there are a handful of left of center media outlets that Wikipedia also excludes, but like 99% of the media outlets that Wikipedia excludes are on the right. And that is the primary source for Google to place information. So if you search for Donald Trump, you'll have to dig through 9, 10, 12 pages of search results on Google before you find one article from a right of center media outlet, and everything else comes from the left, from the New York Times, the Washington Post, etc. You get the drill. It's all the negative stuff, and AI is being trained on this, this way. And guess what? We've discovered that the Biden administration was funding efforts specifically to exclude right of center and conservative media outlets. Our tax dollars being used to pay for AI trainers to exclude us. This is the kind of stuff that the American public could see, they could feel, and they rose up and elected Donald Trump in response to it.
Producer Jerome speaking now with Dan Schneider of the Media Research Center. So part of the big, beautiful bill included a clause that essentially said that AI would be unregulated for the next 10 years. And I know a lot of people that didn't sit well with that. Vice President J.D. Vance said, well, that's to prevent exactly what you're talking about with regulating AI to be biased towards, the right and conservatism in general. But in terms of preventing that, it sounds like some form of safeguard or a gatekeeping to prevent total unregulation might be necessary. Where do you stand on the inclusion of unregulated AI in the big, beautiful bill?
Yeah, well, look, I think the proper way to address AI is to understand we as a country, we have to be the leader in the development of AI, because if we allow the Chinese or other nefarious organizations to take the lead, they'll use it to our demise. But our U.S.-based companies, who are the world leaders in the AI, must understand that it is not only a violation of decency and normal standards, but also it's under what is called common carrier law. It would be a violation of the law of common carriage laws to discriminate against people, including based on political viewpoint, to discriminate against us. So I think that the most important regulation is that these AI systems be as transparent as possible, as transparent as our national security allows it to be, so that people can judge for themselves what is on these AI systems, and then to say no viewpoint discrimination, AI companies, or else you'll be violating the law.
Yeah, and so that
we have that.
Yeah, see, that was going to say, how do we get to that point? I mean, I want government to stay in its lane, but I'm also going to follow up in a minute with how crucial it is that the foundation of AI is laid properly. So is it possible to have this industry built on, an unbiased model and a model that's fair for everybody? Because we're blending the public and the private sectors here.
Yeah, and this is where I get to what's called common carriage laws. Big tech, the old Plessy versus Ferguson standard, separate but equal. Big tech is trying to resurrect that standard to be able to discriminate against anybody for any reason, including, denying service to people based on their religion, based on their skin color, based on their political viewpoint. And we've got to stop that. That is, should be declared unconstitutional, and everybody should have equal access and equal rights to, not only to AI systems, but that AI systems not discriminate against us. Now, Elon Musk is the first to really put the artificial intelligence algorithms on full display. So we've actually been able to use his Grok system to evaluate his own algorithm and see where the problems lie. Google, in particular, keeps all of its algorithms closed source. It will not allow anybody to see what it's doing. And of course, it's doing all kinds of crazy, terrible things with its AI systems. So, transparency is key. Having these algorithms transparent so everybody can see what's really going on.
Dan, what happens if we don't build this right? I mean, you've already shown that there's a bias right now, which I don't think anybody's going to have any problem believing at this point. But if it's not corrected, because we're still, I believe, in the infancy stage of what AI is going to be, everything that's being built right now is going to frame what's in the future. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years down the road, a generation down the road, what happens if we lose control now and we don't have that sort of objectivity and intellectual freedom in the AI space? What happens if we don't get this right?
Well, I keep on saying harsh things about Google. It's not that I'm exclusively focused on Google. It's just that Google is responsible for so many evils in the world. But its co-founder had expressed a desire that AI be the god of the universe one day. And if we're not careful, not only in terms of how it's programmed today, but how we use it and how we conceptualize it, there's a real risk that we begin to rely on AI as the source of all knowledge, all wisdom, all information, and that it controls us, essentially making it our God. Mm-hmm. AI can be an incredible tool, a valuable tool. It can make our lives better, or it can become the thing that enslaves us and destroys us. Yeah, that's going to take us making sure that it is programmed properly, that the companies that program AI, that they are behaving ethically. And it's also going to take us aware of the problems of conceding our liberties to it and conceding our sovereignty over it. We have got to continue to be a moral people, an ethical people. We have got to be disciplined enough to learn its limitations and our own.
Yeah, so looking at it as the source of information versus a reflection or collection of the information is a massive distinction. I like how you put that, Dan. All right, people want to learn more about what you all are doing and staying on top of this because this is something that it right now is such a crucial stage of the AI development, which is going to affect everything else. What's the way to track what you and your team's doing?
So we're at the Media Research Center, MRC. So the best way is just to go to mrc.org. And you can find we've got a few different divisions here, including Free Speech America. I run the Free Speech America side. That's where we handle our AI systems. But it's an important thing that we all have to stay on top of.
Just ahead here at the news dump, right around 6:04. How excited are Democrats at the prospect of a J.B. Pritzker presidential campaign? Yeah, maybe about as excited as Republicans are. I've got the actual polling numbers for you. We'll get to that in just a little bit here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic rights and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
Transform your furry friend at Dapper Dog. Personalized grooming for dogs and cats of all breeds, featuring creative color treatments and luxurious spa services with quick turnaround and one-on-one care. Let your pup play all day in our Bark Park Monday through Friday. Need overnight boarding? We accept only 10 families at a time for truly personalized care. No extra charges for playtime, medications, or potty breaks, so your pet gets the attention they deserve. In St. Peters and in Troy, or at youdapperdog.com. That's youdapperdog.com.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next-door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment policies in the nation. Kansas parents are trusted with choices and options, while Missouri parents must move out of their home to change public schools. And it's a trend. Nationwide, the percentage of students going to their chosen public school has steadily increased. Assigning kids to schools based on their zip code is the old way. Open enrollment is a better way. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, I'm going to touch on this whole. I'm so sick of people calling it the big beautiful bill. Even people who are like, we need to pass this thing. Let's stop. Can we stop calling it that? The short answer is no, probably not, because that's what Donald Trump declared it, and so that's what everybody calls it. There's now abbreviations, OBBB, one big beautiful bill. I mean, it's just the thing's a mess.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And who's being fiscally responsible? Leaders in Missouri. The governor votes hundreds of millions in spending, but some say that's not enough. We've got details in the news dump at 6:04.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll get to this big, beautiful bill thing here in just a minute. But you all, actually, I don't think you've been on since we've talked about polling and stuff like that with candidates and all that sort of thing, campaigns and stuff.
I was probably listening, but I probably was part of it.
So I think political polling is basically garbage at the moment. But I still can't help myself. I don't know why. I still read the polls. I don't believe them, but I read them. So how is J.B. Pritzker's ambitions looking at the moment? But here's the other thing is there's already a poll out as to who Republicans would be looking to in 2028 as well here. So Emerson College did a preference poll. They did both Republicans and Democrats about who they like for the 2028 presidential campaign. Let's just say J.B. Pritzker has a long way to go according to this.
Good.
Oh my goodness. So I've got I printed up a copy of it here. Now, don't get me wrong. This is way too early. I don't think this means squat at all. And I think there is pressure on pollsters to do better and be more accurate because they basically become sloppy and push polls more than anything else. And so what's interesting here is when they looked at the Democratic race, we'll go right to J.B. Pritzker. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He is in 10th place of this list of potential candidates. He's got 2% support in this primary vote that was done. Emerson says it's got a plus or minus of 4.9%, meaning, well, it could be up to 5% either way, which I don't know how they determine that. I mean, I know it's sample size and everything, but that's them saying, well, let's give ourselves a little bit of leeway here.
So if he's at 2% and the margin of error is 4.9%, theoretically speaking, he could have 0%.
He could have less than 0%, precisely. But here's the thing. Who would you guess the Democrats? Now, first of all, the biggest response was undecided. Almost 1 in 4, but that makes sense this far out.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't expect, but of the people who say, oh, I like that person as my favorite candidate right now, who would you think was the top pick of the Democrats?
Oh man. I have to say it's either got to be AOC or Gavin Newsom.
Okay. So the two that you listed are both in the top 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're on the right track. AOC at 7% was in 4th place.
Okay.
Gavin Newsom, 3rd place, 12%.
Ooh.
Number 1, and I'm going to read all this in the news dump period again in a few minutes. Pete Buttigieg.
Interesting.
That says a lot more about the state of the Democratic Party mindset than it does Pete Buttigieg.
Absolutely. Now, if maybe we have these information. Where's Shapiro at?
5th place, right behind Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
That's actually higher than I thought he would be.
Yeah, precisely, because he's Jewish, and we know that there's a huge, that's like part of their mainstay right now is pro-Islamic, basically pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, pro-Gaza. And so, yeah, Josh Shapiro, now he's only at 7%, just barely. He's in the 7% range. Ocasio-Cortez is 7, he's at 7, but she's a little apparently ahead of him as well. But both of them are ahead of Bernie Sanders. And then J.B. Pritzker all the way down in 10th place.
Good.
On this, which I find hysterical. But the funny part is when you look at the racial breakdown, J.B. Pritzker's support among minority voters, basically zero. Black voters, zero. So it's a little bit Hispanic, and then most of his support, if you can call it that, was among white voters as well. But for the Republicans, again, way too early. But who would you guess? And this is far more than undecided. Right now, Republicans, according to this poll, have a clear favorite.
So can I give two answers?
Sure.
Okay. So the answer that I know is probably closest is going to be J.D. Vance.
Mm-hmm.
The answer that we should be giving that should absolutely be the front runner is Thomas Massie.
Okay. Thomas Massie is nowhere on the list.
Of course he's not.
Right.
Because we don't like winning.
Yeah. J.D. Vance has almost half of the support, 46%. By far and away the number one.
Which I don't hate that.
Right.
There are some things, but I am very impressed with J.D. Vance, especially how he just absolutely whooped Tim Walz in that debate.
Oh, yeah. That was now. Then again,
yeah.
Anybody in this room could have whooped Tim Walz in that debate. But yeah, he did. He just outclassed him by a long shot. And so, yeah, when you look at the list, which we'll go into a little more depth later on, and the list that they have is, it's the usual typical Republican, names that you would see. I will say this: I think J.D. Vance is beatable by the Democrats.
Unfortunately, yes, and I don't think he should be, and especially if Gavin Newsom is that high on the list, I cannot imagine why. But hopefully we'll see a J.D. Vance Massie ticket, because I think that would probably be an unstoppable ticket for the right. Even though I know right now, with what's going on, people are not too thrilled with Massie, but I will defend him to the day I die.
I will too. Massie. The reality is, the Massie's right on most of the stuff.
Oh,
I mean, he just is. But that's not how we judge things, which we'll get into here in a few minutes. Speaking of that, because, for instance, Massie is calling out all the worst parts of this spending bill and this tax bill. And I'm not going to lie. I get in this morning and I wake up thinking, all right, I'm going to have an update of what passed and what didn't pass. No. They're still fighting it out. And I do this for a living. I've been doing it for almost 30 years.
And you're here like earlier.
I'm here early. I'm reading these articles. I'm reading these statements. I'm reading these press releases. And I'm like, I haven't the slightest idea where this stands right now. It is an absolute mess. I mean, just an absolute mess. So we'll get into that here in just a couple minutes.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that, because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs, attorney at law, has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs, attorney at law. Call 636-949-0010, extension 3 today, or visit colecombs-law.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Once Senate and House negotiators finally resolve President Trump's big, beautiful bill, Congress has another challenge facing it: how to extend tax cuts on health care premiums for working-class Americans. Pollster John McLaughlin just completed a poll for an organization leading the fight to stop any increases in health care costs.
The Americans for Balanced Budget, we just did a survey because no one's addressing the healthcare marketplace that protects a lot of working class Americans who pay for their own insurance, may have two jobs, but their employers don't cover them with health insurance, so they have to go buy their own. After they get done with the big, beautiful bill, they've got to extend these tax credits so that working class people, when October hits and people get premium bills, we've got to make sure that they don't get sticker shock.
More on the Americans for a Balanced Budget agenda, available on the website StopHealthCostHikes.com. President Trump heading to the Florida Everglades today. He'll visit a brand new holding center for criminal illegal immigrants pending deportation.
The detention center is located on an isolated airstrip surrounded by swampland that is filled with mosquitoes, pythons, and alligators.
It is isolated and surrounded by dangerous wildlife and unforgiving terrain.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the facility will hold up to 5,000 detainees. She says the so-called alligator Alcatraz is an efficient, low-cost way to carry out the president's deportation campaign. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu planning a visit to Washington next week. He'll meet with President Trump and others. German prosecutors say a man accused of gathering information on Jews in Berlin, allegedly collecting the data for Iran, has been arrested in Denmark. Wall Street, the Dow futures down 55 points. NASDAQ futures off 61. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time and skip the regular line at the airport and pay for speedy security. Imagine not having to quickly unpack and pack at the place you already came packed to. And wearing your shoes the whole time you're there? You can't put a price on that kind of luxury. Well, actually you can, and you paid for it. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. For speedy security. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Great news. The cold front is now to the south, which means we're going to steadily feel that humidity dropping throughout the day today. Temperatures near 87 degrees. Today's actually the coolest day that we will have for some time. Mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, in the 70s overnight, back in the 90s tomorrow. The humidity begins to creep up by Friday. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and that includes anything from livestock to the family dog or cat. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and check out all their products and services at oldtowncountrystore.com.
It's a brand new year. Tim Jones will tell you about the brand new things happening at The Hideout, famous for the Sunset Patio, 50 big screen TVs, live music and events, a fantastic game room, and of course, the food. The Hideout has a brand new menu featuring their world famous wings, the best handcrafted burgers, new items like the signature Sunset Dip and Dave's Chili, and a second location at Sugar Creek Golf Course in beautiful High Ridge. Experience the Hideout while enjoying a round of golf. Come in for lunch or dinner. The new 2025 Hideout, hideoutsportsbar.com, hideoutsportsbar.com. We'll definitely see you there.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
This is the kind of adventure I usually have to force upon us, and here it is, falling into our laps.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
They're buying it.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
Watch a couple squats, son.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
All right, newsflash, guys. We're starting off with the newsflash. The U.S. Senate is basically a disheveled mess right now.
That's news?
Oh, did you already know that?
I do that.
You were already aware of that?
I
Okay.
was aware.
All right. Maybe it's not that much of a newsflash. All right. Also, tornado victims in the city can connect directly with resources. There's a public meeting about that tonight. And the Cardinals are, at least for right now, in a pretty tight three-way race for the National League Central. It is 6:05, almost 6:06. Let's dump some news on you here.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by Common Sense Rentals.
Okay. We got to do our theme. We got to do the music thing. There we go.
There it is. Wake up, America. It all worked out. You know, I mean, they got all the news.
The Morning News Dump.
It just doesn't feel right unless we have the double entendre news dump.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Flush.
Flush. Exactly. Okay. So let me read the first few words of the news copy I have in front of me.
Okay.
And then I'm going to translate.
All right.
Okay. The Senate is moving slowly towards a vote on the one big, beautiful bill, combing their way through a series of amendments.
Oh,
that's what it says in the news
okay.
copy.
All right. Please provide the translation for those in the back.
Chaos ensues. Nobody knows what the hell is happening in Washington, D.C., but they're voting on it and spinning it to the news media.
There
Fair
it is.
enough?
That's
Okay.
it. That's
All right.
it.
Senator Eric Schmidt was on Fox News, but he was focusing on one part of the bill that I think all Republicans are pretty unified on, extending those 2017 tax cuts, which, if not extended, will expire about 6 months from right now.
If we don't extend those and we want to make them permanent, you're going to see a $4 trillion tax increase. It'd be cataclysmic for the economy, but for working families out there, that's a couple $1,000s a year that would be taken out of their pockets.
Now, of course, what's proposed is also a debt limit increase, upwards of $5 trillion of additional debt for the country on this, which is a terrible, terrible idea. Republicans are supporting it. It's still a terrible idea.
Yeah, you don't want to encourage further spending by allowing the debt ceiling to continue to rise that way.
You know, it's funny. I saw what's his name, Chenka Uger.
Mhm.
Yeah, he said you can't have a balanced budget with tax cuts.
Oh
you
my
want to
gosh.
balance you want all these tax cuts, but then you can't have a balanced budget. I'm like, you're missing a variable there.
Yeah, there's another side of the because there's a plus side of the ledger, and then there's a minus side in the ledger.
How about stop all the spending, and what's being proposed is still an increase in spending?
Yeah, it's
Good
terrible. Now, I will say this: the tendency for the Republicans is to say, okay, we're by providing the tax cuts, we're going to use growth to get us out of.
That's exactly what they're saying.
And of course, it works a little. But the thing, basically all you're doing is slowing down slightly. You're driving towards the fiscal cliff.
It's the circular reasoning. That's, for instance, saying basically I need to lose weight. That's my comparison to cutting spending. I need to lose weight.
Right.
But if I have a couple donuts, then I'm going to be motivated to run a couple extra miles in order to lose weight. So I should probably go buy a box of donuts so I can lose weight. And that's essentially the politicians thinking right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, goodness. All right. Stateside here. Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe announces over $500 million in spending vetoes and restrictions. Those were made as he signed the rest of the state budget into law on Monday. The governor says the budget lawmakers agreed to is about $775 million more than he recommended, hence the cuts. The state's new budget is still a whopping $50.8 billion. And I'm glad we're now talking about fiscal responsibility after pushing lawmakers into giving about $2 billion to billionaire sports teams owners.
Yeah, seriously. It feels icky. I'll say it
Yeah.
that way. That's the technical term I've come up with.
Yeah, but then the question comes down to, is it at least a good start in the right direction? Camelia Peterson from America's for Prosperity is going to be with us at 8:35 to discuss that. Okay, here's a little bit of good news. St. Louis County's animal shelter is finally licensed again.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. That's something.
After failing 3 inspections this year, the state's Department of Agriculture says it passed Monday's inspection. They were given their license basically on the spot. The shelter was at risk of being shut down permanently by the state. Shelter management says, okay, we're licensed and we've got over 250 animals there right now that they hope to get adopted out or at least placed in foster homes. They're basically packed to the limit of critters right now. So if you're looking to foster or adopt, yes, they can't run themselves, but that may be more of a reason to go try to adopt. And I still think Mark Harder and Dennis Hancock and Mike Archer on the county council are 100% correct. Let's start talking about how to offload this into the nonprofit private sector for people who are going to do a better job.
Seriously.
I'm just saying. All right. So how excited are Democrats at the prospect of a J.B. Pritzker 2028 presidential campaign?
Yeah. What is the enthusiasm?
Yeah,
level?
well, they're about as excited as Republicans are, apparently. According to an article at the Illinois Review, a new Emerson College poll has Governor Pritzker at 2% among Democrats.
Dang.
That puts him 10th in the list of possible Democratic presidential candidates. Pete Buttigieg leads the pack at 16%.
Wait a minute.
Pete
What?
Buttigieg.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, the guy who had one role in the Biden administration and by all accounts failed miserably in every aspect of it. But that tells you more, I think, about the Democratic voters than it does anybody else.
Yeah, seriously.
He is followed by former Vice President Kamala Harris at 13%.
Oh my gosh.
California Governor Gavin Newsom, 12% in the poll. Not surprisingly, undecided was the most popular category at 23%. All jokes aside, that's normal for something this far out.
Yeah, it is way far out. And of course, I suppose the reason for the other having like any level of percentage is name recognition.
Right.
They know who they are.
Yeah.
And I think Pete Buttigieg is a pretty technically non-offensive character among all of the weirdos that they have there on their own.
Yeah, and he's pretty weird, and he's one of the lesser weirdos of the weird, and he's pretty darn weird.
He is. He's quite weird.
Right. All right. iPhone users now can download an app that gives you an alert and a warning if ICE agents are nearby.
Excuse me?
Yeah, this is a thing now. The app was, featured by CNN, and Border Czar Tom Homan responded on Fox's The Will Cain Show discussing that app. And he thinks something needs to be done about it.
These guys are putting their lives on the line every day going after the worst and worst internet security threats. And this app makes it that much more dangerous. It's incredible that those who enforce law, all of a sudden they're the bad guys. The ones who break the law, they're victims. It's disgusting.
Okay, so he's right about that. However, there's a First Amendment thing. You can't do something about the app just because you don't like it. Even if what they're doing is gross. That's just the way that
Now, I wonder about the danger aspect of it, though.
Yeah, but to say, I mean, the app itself just says, hey, they're here, or hey, they've been spotted nearby.
Right.
I mean, it wouldn't be any different than, hey, watch out, there's
speed trap.
There's a speed trap, or there's, I mean, the Maps app that I use on my car alerts me to radar being used, or police officer spotted here, and which actually I think most police officers like, because it's like, hey, if you slow down,
everybody slows down anyway. So that's the point.
Or there's a checkpoint.
Right.
Coming. So I think it's the same First Amendment thing. So
Okay.
I don't know what it is you're going to do about it. I mean, to me, I would just lean in and go in and start reporting a bunch of fake ICE agents in other places.
There you go.
That's what I would do.
Counterintelligence.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. A series of town hall events to help tornado victims in the city, help the victims connect with recovery resources is now underway. Tonight, it's going to be focused on residents in wards 11 and 12. This is going to be held at the Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club on North Grand. Starts at 5:30, ends at 7 o'clock. The mayor, some of the members of the Board of Aldermen, and representatives from FEMA are going to be there. Go to the city's website if you want to learn more about that. All right. You got, by the way, I've got another meme to send you on this. Okay. So, Florida Republican Attorney General James Uthmeyer was on Fox to defend the new detention center opening up in the Everglades called Alligator Alcatraz.
We're becoming the victim of our own success. Our sheriffs up and down the state are making thousands of arrests, which is filling up jail cells. So we're going to need more space.
By the way, President Trump is scheduled to visit the facility today when it opens up. I've got another meme to send you on this.
Yes, please.
Gabe and I have had some fun on the memes. I'll send it to you too, Jerome.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very funny. All right, so that's happening. All right, the Cardinals win streak ended on Monday. They lost to the Pirates 7-0 in Pittsburgh. Same two teams play this afternoon at 5:40 as usual. FanDuel has the game. Redbirds are now in third place in the division, but here's the thing. They are only 3 games behind the first place Cubs. This is settling in to be a pretty tight Central Division race. This is going to be fun.
It is no more. And all the ones depart, no destination. Making cold my to fight your war. Stop.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I have smelled alcohol on your breath. Anything else?
No.
No.
No. Besides my meds.
On Newstalk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Some things never go out of style, like standing for the national anthem, barbecue at the family picnic, and fireworks on the 4th. This Friday,
4th of July.
let's celebrate our freedoms.
God bless America.
From your local American favorites, Ruthie's Family Restaurant, Gerald Home Center, Blue Sky Apparel and Promotions, and News Talk STL.
For 3 generations, one family has ruled the road in quality asphalt paving. Ruby's King of the Road Hot Mix Asphalt Paving. Family owned and operated. We're your leading authority for driveways, lanes, and parking areas. No project is too small or too large. We cater to both residential and commercial needs with unbeatable quality and just $38 per square yard plus labor. Call 636-295-9949. 636-295-9949. Ruby's King of the Road Hot Mix Asphalt Paving. You save when we pave.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All right, St. Louis police are saying it out loud. Parents, don't let your kids run around downtown this Independence Day weekend.
Yeah, please. And by the way, don't forget that we're your new TV morning show. Before you listen in your car, you can put us on your smart TV using any one of our streaming platforms. And I mean, look, I didn't do all of this just for it to languish in radio. So make us your TV morning show and share with us before you head out.
There you go. All right, kind of a quick note here. I want to follow up on that animal shelter situation. They are licensed again. I just said that in the news dump. But congratulations to the St. Louis County Animal Shelter. You met the bare minimum standards. So congratulations for that.
there's no poop in the hallway.
Yeah. Or there's not too much.
Yeah, exactly.
However, that
minimum
actually
standards.
works. So, I mean, apparently they've in the news article I saw at KMOV, they said, all the, volunteers and employees, we work countless hours and, came in on weekends and we did all this extra work. And I'm like, okay, that's just to meet the bare minimum standards. How bad did that get?
Seriously. It's like, did all this extra work. What do you mean? Isn't that the work you should have been doing all along?
Right.
Like, that's the problem. It's like cleaning up a hoarding house and then say, look at all the extra work. Like, you should have just been keeping the house clean in the first place.
Yeah. So this is the end result is, and again, I've quoted, we talked to Councilman Mike Archer, we talked to Councilman Dennis Hancock, we talked to Councilman Mark Harder, and they're all on the right track. I completely agree with them. I think they're correct in that we need to be talking about offloading this off of the county government and into the nonprofit sector. I mean, look at how much better of a job APA does in Brentwood.
Yeah,
you know,
seriously.
I mean, they just that is the model. And when the shelter was languishing, they had to have the APA come in and take over, and then, you know, they parted ways, and then it got unlicensed again. And the Department of Agriculture was literally warning the state's largest county government, we're going to shut this down permanently, not just pull your license unless you get your stuff together. And so they finally got it together enough to get a license. And so I don't know what the status is when it comes to how often they're inspected to keep the license.
Right.
But they've passed 1 out of 4 inspections this year.
Oh my gosh.
And we're halfway through the year. 1 out of 4.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I'm not criticizing, because there are people who, you know, volunteer there. There are
Yeah.
people here who work there, you know, who I'm sure are, could do something else. just
Maybe they're
because they
overworked
love
and
it.
underpaid. Maybe.
Maybe. You know, the reality is that when government runs it, the incentives are different, and it runs differently
Yeah.
than if you have it in the private sector. But they have at this point met the bare minimum. And so I did look at their website just a day or so ago, and they've got a bunch of pictures of dogs and cats, and they're looking for foster families in particular to try to alleviate that overcrowding that they have. So if you are looking to help the animals, you know, don't think that you're supporting the government animal shelter by doing it. Think about, okay, I can take better care of these animals than apparently this shelter can.
Mhm.
You know, go adopt, go foster, whatever the case is. So you can find that at the county's website there. All right. So when it comes to celebrating Independence Day,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys. Downtown St. Louis, not my first choice for destination
No,
on this.
no.
Frankly, if
Hasn't
you-
been for a while.
Yeah, if you look at my top 100 list of destinations, wouldn't be on that either.
Mhm.
But now, after the gays got all violent last weekend, St. Louis police are sending out warnings before this weekend. They are basically saying, all right, everybody, we're upping the staffing. And they'd been planning on this because, you know, downtown, you know, has a lot of revelers, and, you know, the bars are busy and all this kind of stuff. But they're putting out warnings right now, particularly to parents of teenagers.
Oh,
they're saying, don't send your kids.
Oh, just don't leave your.
Just don't set your kids loose down here.
Yeah.
But you look at, because last year during the Independence Day, holiday, there were, let's see here. What was it? 7 people shot.
Jeez.
Including a 13-year-old, all in downtown St. Louis.
Oh, come on.
And so they're basically now saying, and Mitch McCoy, who's the spokesperson for the police department, he basically says, if your kids get out of hand,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to hold you accountable, being the parents.
Good. Okay,
right.
here it is.
Well, that's about time.
Mm-hmm.
So because we're seeing this, and it's not unique to St. Louis, but how many times when we were downtown, when this station was downtown, did we see like roving bands of
Teenagers,
like, young teenagers?
Oh man, yeah.
I mean, young ones.
Yeah, yeah, and it always gives me friggin' hives. I swear. I am more apt to feel better about seeing a pack of wild dogs just roaming through an area than I am to see a pack of unruly and unsupervised children.
Right. And so that's basically what they're saying. And this is a warning to everybody else, they say, because when you look at what happened in the Grove last weekend, by demographically one of the least violent groups of people in society, and they got all frisky and started smacking each other and shooting at each other. And so now they're going, oh, what happens when the more experienced professional fighters decide to go party and get liquored up downtown St. Louis? Because it's one of those rare times when people do go downtown. I don't remember if the Cardinals are in town this weekend or not. But, they like the fireworks displays and of course, the river, and all this sort of thing. I have gotten to the point in my life where I don't like to go where there's these massive crowds for stuff like this. It's just not my thing. I think the last time I went to one of those is when the Blues won the Stanley Cup, and I went downtown to the celebration for that, standing basically right under the arch. And even then, the drunk people kept running into us And I thought my daughter, who's 5 foot tall and like 98 pounds, I thought she was going to get me into a fight because she got tired of being knocked over by drunk people. And I'm like, yeah, you can take the first punch there, Amber, because I'm the one that's got to take on the drunk hockey fans. I'm like, that's that. But so at that point, I'm like, I just don't enjoy this anymore. The downtown is the reading between the lines. What I kind of heard everybody say is, would you please just stay in your backyard and barbecue? Don't come here.
Well, and that's the thing. So in my hometown, we could not have any sort of like public festivals. We couldn't have any public scrimmages between the high schools. We couldn't have any real like community building events because people that had online beefs or that they had, whatever, they were showing up looking for each other, and then they would start shooting at each other in crowded. It's like, I know it's inconsiderate to shoot somebody, but to do it in a crowded place around a bunch of people that have nothing to do with your little insignificant squabbles, like
it's even worse.
Do it at 3 in the morning.
USA, USA.
But do it at 3 in the morning in your own neighborhood, like a responsible person. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It was a good time for everybody else.
Be a considerate thug.
Exactly.
Come on.
Considerate thugs operate between midnight and 3:30 a.m.
But this just goes to show you kind of the state of downtown St. Louis when even the police are saying, please don't come here.
Yeah, that's wild.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Well,
and I imagine part of it too is just that the police are absolutely overwhelmed just with dealing with the normal levels of violence and peopling that goes on downtown. And they've been shorthanded for years now.
Oh, they've been defunded.
Yeah.
For years. We've been talking about that, since day one on the air here. It's been years ago.
I can't remember how many times we were informed that there were 2 patrol officers for basically the entirety of downtown.
Yeah.
In some of the worst periods of time at night. So I couldn't imagine what it'd be like trying to cover the city if there were massive crowds moving through various areas of the downtown area.
And then you look at last weekend, for instance, all of the organized pride stuff. They had their permits.
Yeah.
They had the streets. They did it the way you're supposed to do it. Then you get into the Grove, where the gayest part of St. Louis, I mean, by design, that's their area. No permits, no nothing. They were overwhelmed by the numbers. And the police later said, listen, even if they had a permit, that was more people than we would have permitted them for any sort of actual standing event.
Jeez.
I obviously wasn't there. But apparently it was just crazy. And then obviously the fights broke out all over the place, and 6 people ended up being arrested. 2 people shot, a couple of police officers were hurt. We thought it was just one. Turns out there was more than one. None of the injuries are serious, but that is in like the least normally what you would think of as the least stereotypically violent area. Although, I got some notes from people saying, actually, I've been here in the Grove can be a little rough at times.
Really?
Yeah. Depends on where you are, I guess, in the Grove.
Grove's developing its own hood.
Well, it kind of is, which is interesting because you kind of go from the, artistic, all the rainbow flags, modern stuff. And then all of a sudden you've got abandoned houses there as you're heading towards, I guess that would be Kings Highway. Because, I used to drive through all the time when we were back in the downtown location. That was a straight shot back to Richmond Heights.
Right.
So being the straight shot through there.
I see what you did.
But yeah, I didn't realize I did that. But it was interesting because the reality is that part of Manchester or Choteau, same road. And they would, you'd have this area of all these cool hip restaurants and bars and all this kind of stuff. And then out of nowhere, you've got abandoned houses with graffiti tag on it, literally 15 feet away.
Right.
And I think they're still there. But as you're heading west, right before Kings Highway, it's like, you guys didn't complete that block.
Yeah, seriously.
Just buy that up and complete that block.
Yeah.
And then at that point, of course, you're at Kings Highway, and then you're getting closer to a couple sketchy areas before you get into Dogtown. But it's now to the point where police are like bracing themselves. They're like, we know things get rough. You can't discount the fact that there's a crap ton of booze that happens on Independence Day, because nobody remembers what Independence Day is actually for.
No.
Yeah. It's for mattress sales, as well. But when the police are saying, please don't come here,
that's
they're
wild.
bracing for the worst.
It's so different. We're living basically in a different time.
Yeah. All right. Who we got here?
We have our friend David, who has some comments on how to keep the control.
All right,
these large
David.
crowds grow out of control.
All right, I got 60 to 90 seconds for you. Go on, man.
Good morning, Gabe. I don't like you. You're always the smart guy in the room. I'm always the dumb guy in the room. Hey, here's how we can control it. Let's go back old school for you liberal Democrats. I'm not saying sick dogs on people. However, get the dogs out there. You will gain immediate compliance. City of St. Louis, build your squad up with your horses again. There are the two best deterrents for people who want to act stupid. You have a 2,000+ pound animal that can squash you in a minute, or a dog that can put 60 puncture marks in you in a second if you don't comply.
Well, New York City uses the horses a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. And besides that, you have all the people who just want to look at the cute doggy and the pretty horses.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, I honestly, if they bring those out, I was honestly thinking about going downtown to riot this weekend, but if they bring out the horses, I'm probably going to think twice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
honestly, I don't think they have the squad right now of dogs or horses.
Yeah.
But here's the way we need to get back to. Okay, I grew up in the city. Let's go back to the same mentality that we had. The police didn't have to talk to you very much because they had a foot that they would bury in your behind to gain immediate compliance.
Yes,
exactly. Hey, Steve, I got to run to an information segment. Thanks so much, man. All right, 314-912-1019. All right, we've got the spending bill mess that's happening. Can we look at the bigger picture of this? Let's do that at 6:34.
Vic Hickson, who served in the Revolutionary War from 1775 to 1778. We will honor one veteran a week starting this Wednesday on Vic for Vets.
The Vic Porcelli Show, weekdays 9 to noon on News Talk STL. From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Great news. The cold front is now to the south, which means we're going to steadily feel that humidity dropping throughout the day today. Temperatures near 87 degrees. Today is actually the coolest day that we will have for some time. Mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, in the 70s overnight, back in the 90s tomorrow. The humidity begins to creep up by Friday. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Jamie Allman here. Tossing and turning over retirement worries? You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every weekday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Brought to you by Best Buy Flooring, Patriot Heating and Cooling, and DG Firearms.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at INHSTL.com. That's INHSTL.com.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are.
And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
1019 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
And I'm already gone. I like the pool of blood and sorrow. I've got a machine gun blues.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I'm going to try to do like the bigger picture thing because obviously we knew the big news story nationally is going to be the debate over the spending and the tax bill, what people are calling the one big beautiful bill here. But I'm going to ask this big question here. Is this really how we should be governing in the world's leading nation. Let's start there in a minute.
Yeah, and your answer to that question, if you want to get it out in front of the most people that you can think of, both the like-minded and maybe the not so like-minded, our social media is one of those great ways to do that. And when you hit all the buttons, the repost, the likes, the shares, and all of those things, it actually affects the algorithm. It really does. We've talked about how you can affect politics by making a phone call and how that counts. Some multiple. As a larger amount of people to that politician. Well, it works similarly with the algorithm. Your actions count as a multiple. So amplify your own voice, amplify our voices, and the various positions we all take to the rest of the world, and join us in that conversation.
Yeah. So if you're watching on streaming on Facebook, hit the like, hit the share. If you're watching on Rumble, hit the thumbs up thing, or on X or then hit the I think you still call it retweet.
Retweet, yep.
It makes a big difference.
Share it to your friends and your followers.
Yep, exactly. All right, so the big picture is Congress is just a mess right now. Okay, the federal government's kind of a mess right now.
Yes.
I mean, other than the Supreme Court, and I'm not saying I agree with all of their decisions, but at least they're orderly and we know what to expect in the process, and they're not a mess right now.
They're operating as usual.
Yeah, they may get it right, they may get it wrong, but they're operating. So I kind of want to do the bigger picture. I was telling Jerome before the show, Gabe, I said, I do this for a living. I've been doing it almost 30 years between journalism and this. I know how to get caught up on what's happening because I knew waking up, I was expecting to see all these stories about one big, beautiful bill passes, here are the changes that were, and then what I woke up to is an all-night vote-a-rama with everybody throwing chaotic amendments in here.
Vote-a-rama.
Yeah, that's what they were calling it. And so it hasn't passed.
Nope.
But there have been some things, like, for instance, the amendment to ban illegal aliens from accessing Medicaid services.
Right.
That failed.
Which is crazy.
A Republican majority.
Makes no sense
and
whatsoever.
It failed. And so
in both chambers.
Yeah. And so we've got this absolute mess. And to some degree, the founders wanted conflict.
Yes.
In Congress. But they didn't want dysfunction. And that's where we're at right now. We are well into dysfunction. So it's a matter of, okay, there's the issue itself, the spending bill, and the good and the bad and the ugly of it. And then there's chaos being used as a tactic.
Right.
And for the most part, the left is the side using chaos because that's all they can do to stop this. Although enough Republicans now are saying, this is so much of a mess, I can no longer support parts of it or all of it. So this whole thing may not pass.
Yeah, this is kind of the danger of having these narrow majorities. Honestly, I think without the cushion that you need from having so many votes, you end up playing this game of essentially political whack-a-mole,
right?
Where it's like everybody is the second vote that you need. Right. Right. So then you have to appeal to everybody. It's like, okay, how about I give you this? And what about this? And they're thinking, oh, I could add in this amendments. And and what about my constituency? I can bring home some bacon. And what about this ideological thing I've got going on? So then
but a lot of it's just monkey wrench is being thrown into the, I mean, it's more to just derail things than anything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, for certain ones, I mean, just for the majority party, though, all of them they're jockeying for whatever the heck they want.
Right.
And it's not always a conservative thing. And that's another aspect of it. As many times as you can get a majority, there's going to be a certain percentage you can count as not voting with your majority. Right. And that's what I mean with this narrow margin. Now you have to appeal to those weirdos on the fringe, basically, of your own party.
And when they're throwing all these extra things in, all right, vote on this. Here's an amendment. Nobody has time to read any of this.
Oh, no.
There is not a single member, including the majority leader, who's going to be able to honestly say, I read and understood and question people on all of this. That's when the special interest, that's when the bureaucratic activists, that's when the deep state, that's when the administrative state works in their garbage.
Yes.
And this is ripe for that to happen right now. I would go as far as to say that's probably happening right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can tell which lobbies are the most powerful because of the amendments that come up and then get struck down too. Because I'm hearing, and again, this is only, what few things, the details that are coming out about the bill, that we're kind of getting betrayed on those few Second Amendment things that we wanted in there.
Oh,
right?
Eric Burleson is angry.
Yeah.
Look at his social media. He is ticked off in a big way. But here's another part of this is that the Republicans are feeling this pressure because of the July 4th deadline. Okay, that's not a legally binding deadline. That is an arbitrary date that the president said, and he made a demand. I want it by here. And so the Republicans in Congress are scrambling and they're like, we got to get something done. No, you don't.
Right.
Listen, if good governance means, Mr. President, we're not going to be able to do this right by July 4th. We're going to go home, decompress, and negotiate something better. We're going to come back in another week or two with something else. There's no legally binding anything with July 4th. Just because the president said so doesn't mean it has to be done by this date. Everybody, including the president, should go, all right,
Time out.
this is chaos. Yeah, time out, children. That's what the president should be doing, is time out, kids.
Yes.
All right, let's hold it. Let's do this right and go through and say, what are the things that have to be done? The tax cuts have to be extended.
Yes.
Period.
That's the actual deadline, by the
Right.
way, is when those tax cuts expire.
Yeah.
That's the real deadline.
Right. And, I'm looking at national news right now saying July 4th deadline looms. It doesn't.
No, that's not a real deadline.
Don't fall into that.
It's an arbitrary symbolic date.
And that gives both the Republicans and the Democrats the excuse to go, well, we were pushing through and it was a rush.
We did what we
There's no
could.
way we could, No, take a deep breath, step back out and say, we are the legislative body of the world's leading nation. Let's not do this Keystone Cop style. I mean, let's not have a process that looks like Charlie Chaplin wrote it.
It would be a really good moment of leadership if Trump came forward and said, I'm glad to see all of you trying to hit my July 4th date. I put it out there to provide an impetus for you guys to do the work, but it looks like you guys are like basically being the adult in the room. It's
Right.
like, it looks like you guys are having trouble. I'm going to get everybody take a break, go home, go back to your district, talk to your people,
Right.
find out what's really important to them. And when you come back, I'll be ready to
Right.
sign what you can get done.
That's exactly what should. No,
If
that's
he-
not what is going to happen,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
what should happen.
But if he came out and did that, that would be the top level leadership that you could get from a president over a Congress that conceivably he's in control of because it's all of his party.
Yeah, which he
the majority
shouldn't
is his
be,
party.
but
Yeah.
Yeah, and going into how large this, I saw a photo and they're like wheeling it in on like a
Yeah.
cart. Like,
Yeah.
why is something that large being so far rushed out there? And then you have voices such as, again, I'm going to
say it.
Thomas Massey,
Yep.
and Elon Musk and Rand Paul are all sitting there and saying, we've read this. We took the time to read this. There are so many things in here
Yeah.
that go contrary to what you voted for President Trump for, that are not good for Americans and not good for us. And those are the things that are being left in right now. And it's almost like if you speak out against this or you support them for speaking out against it, you're seen as a traitor now.
Right,
And
which is ridiculous.
and that is not a good way to maintain a healthy republic.
Now, here's the thing. Like, for instance, we've had Bob Onder on him. He's on regularly once a week with us to give us that update from Washington, D.C. And he's made it very clear that he thinks there's a lot of garbage in this bill. And he's made the argument basically not passing it is worse than passing it with the garbage. I don't like this stuff, but that's the choice I'm being given.
Right.
I respect that argument.
It's an argument.
I really do. I respect it. I don't know if I were in Congress, if I would vote that way, but he acknowledges saying that there are lots of this and the way the sausage is being made is awful. And I don't like it. However, this, and this have to get done. And I'm willing to accept some garbage to go along with the stuff that has to get in it. Listen, that is an intellectually consistent, that is an intellectually authentic argument.
And defensible.
Acknowledge it's absolutely defensible. Thomas Massey and Senator Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, obviously having been in the House already, voted on it in the House already, voted against it. They're basically saying we can do better.
There's too much junk in here.
There's too much. We can still do the good stuff, but we can do better. And then
another defensible argument.
And the one that I am more sympathetic to, the attacks on Massey, and now the argument that we're going to primary Massey because he didn't, absolutely stupid.
Yeah,
egregious,
stupid
to the hilt.
You've got the most consistent fiscal conservative in the House. I mean, fiscally conservative alongside. I mean, I would put Eric Burleson up close to there. I think Bob Honor's going to end up being in that camp as well.
Absolutely.
But you know,
need the fiscal hawks,
right?
We need them.
We have to have them, and to say, well, you didn't support this thing the president told you to, so we're going to primary you. When you've got somebody who is the most dedicated, small government, proven track record, what you should be doing is saying, hey, let's work with you and have him help direct. Let's sell this because that's what we get elected on every couple of years, and he's actually doing it.
Yeah, in the few moments we have left, I just want to point out there's a group, it's called, I believe, Conservative Review, and they have what's called the Liberty Score, and they go through and every Democrat and Republican alike, Thomas Massey's conservative liberty score is 96%, and that's over the 10 years of being in office. That's higher than Ted Cruz, that's higher than Matt Gaetz, it's higher than a lot of the forerunners that we look to as these strong conservative people. There are only 2 people I could find that actually had a higher score, and that's because they've only been in office for about a year or 2 now.
Right.
So we are going to literally turn on one of the strongest conservative actual voices that we have, one of the strongest congressmen that we have out there. Because of what? Because he had the gall to stand up and say, hey, there are things in here that I cannot in good conscience support. Come on.
That's crazy.
Okay, a couple points on the Rumble chat right now. Amy referring, I believe, Amy, you're referring to all the chaos that's happening with it. She goes, lobbyists write the bills. She goes, I'm not joking. They do. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. Without question. Amy, you're 100% right.
They
about
actually pen the language.
Yes. I completely agree. That's exactly what happens on so much of this. And then Jay Monty, he says, primary for what? A Democrat or a true rhino? No thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That's the risk. That's your risk you run. Like, why would you try to primary him?
Right.
And if you were to do so, who would you get to replace him? The only person who could, the only type of people who could run against him and claim some sort of difference, some sort of gap between who they are, is someone who is less conservative.
Right.
Because I don't know if you, that was what Jerome's point was. There is no greater level of conservatism basically out there. So who are you getting?
And I don't agree with Massey on everything.
Not everything.
But
no.
I bet you I agree with him on 9 out of 10 things.
Well, what was it? What was the score? 96%?
Yeah.
96%. And that is the third highest. And the only reason why there are 2 people higher than him is because they have not had enough time in office to vote on enough things to prove their actual score.
Yeah. So I probably agree with him 96% of the time.
Which is why you look at something like this and say, okay, step back.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it this week.
Time
If
out.
this is the mess,
Cool off.
Because to Amy's point, that's how you get all the special interest stuff. That's how you get that's how you get those deep state activists who slide stuff in and it gets voted on because nobody has time to read it because you're basically having a WWF battle royale type of approach to legislating. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Ferguson in the morning.
My opinion is it's weird.
On News Talk STL.
This app is absolutely fantastic. Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Well, it is definitely summer here in the heartland. Time to call Hanson's Tree Service for all of your commercial and residential tree care. Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. Let them come out to your homestead or your business today. Take care of everything regarding the exterior of your home. Grinding and land clearing, all residential and commercial tree services. They've got fantastic organic mulch in bulk, plant health care as well. Give them a call, 636-379-1830, 24/7. They're always available at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down. Get
get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL.
All right, are things as bad as we think it is, or is there a method to the madness? We're going to talk to Chris Arps about that at 7:05.
Chris.
Yeah, tornado victims in the city are going to be able to connect directly with resources. That's at a public meeting tonight. And the Cardinals had a rough night, but overall, they're actually in pretty good shape in the division. 650 right now. Let's dump some news on you here.
The Morning News Dump. Are you joking? Is this a joke? Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
Okay, amid all of the chaos of the so-called big, beautiful bill, remains one of the key goals, and that is extending those tax cuts from the first Trump administration. Senator Eric Schmidt was talking about that on, what was he on? Oh, Jesse Waters' Primetime on Fox.
If we don't extend those and we want to make them permanent, you're going to see a $4 trillion tax increase. It'd be cataclysmic for the economy, but for working families out there, that's a couple $1,000s a year that would be taken out of their pockets.
Okay, so if the Republicans fail on this one, I don't care what other amendments or whatever tactics the Democrats do, or the even some of the Republicans do, if they fail on this,
oh gosh,
they're going to have a tough time making a case to be reelected to the majority in 2026.
You're cooked.
Yeah,
if you let those tax
and
cuts
I'm not so
expire.
sure they shouldn't be.
Oh gosh, no. Yeah, everybody should go.
You guys got the majority in the Senate. You guys got the majority in the House. I get Democrats are being stubborn little children in Congress. I get it. You guys have the majority. You should be able to push this through, especially since you're saying, you know what, reconciliation bill, we just need the 51 votes. You guys put yourself in this position.
Yeah.
It's put up or shut up time for the Republicans.
You're in charge.
Yeah. Act like it. All right. Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe announces over $500 million in spending vetoes and restrictions. Those were made as he signed the rest of the state budget into law on Monday. The governor says the budget lawmakers agreed to is about $775 million more than he recommended, hence the cuts. The state's new budget is still a whopping $50.8 billion. And remember, that's separate from that corporate welfare bill with the other bonds that are going to the billionaire sports owners in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, I do appreciate the hundreds of millions of dollars in vetoes and spending cuts, but let's have a broader discussion about what actually counts as fiscal responsibility in the state of Missouri. It's a little closer to home here. St. Louis County's animal shelter finally licensed again. After failing 3 inspections this year, the state's Department of Agriculture says it passed Monday's inspection. The shelter was at risk of being shut down permanently by the state. Shelter management says they right now have over 250 animals there, and they hope to get adopted out or at least placed in foster homes because they're very crowded right now, Gabe.
Yeah, and they need to figure out what the heck's going on over there. I would like them to just privatize it.
Yeah, that's the best way. I mean, that's the best thing for the animals. I mean, that's not just me like, get rid of some government. I mean, I'm always got that mindset, but what's the best thing to accomplish the mission?
Right.
And I think the nonprofit private sector can simply do it better than what we've seen in St. Louis County.
It's kind of been proven.
Yeah. All right. Democrats were asked about who they want to be the 2028 presidential nominee.
And the answers are hilarious.
The answers are fascinating. So according to an article at the Illinois Review, a new Emerson College poll found Governor J.B. Pritzker in 10th place at 2% support. Now, you guys know what I think of polling. I just think this is fascinating.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, like I said, 10th place among the list of possible Democratic presidential candidates.
Waddling in at 10th place.
That's right. Pete Buttigieg leads the pack at 16%. I think that says more about Democratic voters than it does Pete Buttigieg. He is
brisk speed walk.
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg. You can see him speed walking too.
Oh yeah.
Imagine.
Totally. Yeah. On his granny bicycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's closely followed by former Vice President Kamala Harris at 13%, California Governor Gavin Newsom, 12% of the vote. Now, not surprisingly, undecided was the most popular category at 23%. Republicans were polled as well.
Oh.
By far and away, they have a favorite so far with almost half the vote in the poll, 46%. You want to guess who that is?
46% of Republicans
46% of the
want which Republicans?
Which Republicans? They also
to lead.
polled. There's a separate Republican.
Oh, okay. I would think J.D. Vance.
That's correct. Yep.
I would have said Mitch McConnell.
Oh
no, no, and you would have been wrong about that. No, J.D. Vance at 46%. A far distant second is Marco Rubio, which is funny because MAGA hated Marco Rubio up until the time he joined the administration.
Yeah,
and then right behind that's Ron DeSantis.
Marco Rubio's only got a 71% Liberty score. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right. This is interesting. iPhone users can find an app that will alert you if ICE agents are reported nearby.
Yeah. I do not like that this exists.
Yeah.
But I understand the argument that it should be allowed to exist.
Right. Exactly. There's a lot of dumb stuff and gross stuff that is allowed to exist. The app was featured by CNN, which is probably CNN's way of saying, everybody download this, please.
Yeah, they're advertising it.
Borders Are Tom Homan was on the Will Cain show on Fox discussing the app. He says something needs to be done about it.
These guys are putting their lives on the line every day, going after the worst and worst internet security threats. And this app makes it that much more dangerous. It's incredible that those who enforce law, all of a sudden they're the bad guys. When they break the law, they're victims. It's disgusting.
He's not wrong about that.
Right.
He's right about that.
Absolutely true.
But still, it's legally speaking and constitutionally speaking, my guess is it would be looked at the same as an app that would alert you to a DUI checkpoint.
Now, of course, the difference being that instead of just avoiding the area, you would be drawing individuals willing to fight into that area.
Right.
And that's Homan's point, is that this absolutely does make it more dangerous
He's
for
right.
them to just execute their job. So in which case, I love your idea of basically feeding false information into the system. It's like, hey, where's ICE? Oh, they're over there.
They're over there on 2nd Street. Go get them.
Yeah,
they're at the Quickie Tasty Freeze thing. Go.
So absolutely, that I guess that needs to be added to the part of the standard operating procedure of an ICE raid is to deliver a false flag to your app.
Listen, I'm not going to lie. I like it when my maps alerts me to radar bait, even though I'm king of the cruise control. I don't, but I like knowing that.
Sure.
And if there were an app that tells me where a DUI checkpoint is, even though I don't drink and drive,
it's just going to impede your progress.
It's a hassle to me, and I think they're unconstitutional, and I'll drive around them. I'm just saying. All right. A series of town hall events to help tornado victims in the city is underway right now. Tonight, that's going to happen for residents of wards 11 and 12, and it's going to be held at the Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club on North Grand. That's going to go from 5:30 to 7 o'clock. The mayor, some aldermen, and representatives of FEMA will all be there. All right. The Cardinals lost to the Pirates 7-0 in Pittsburgh last night. Same two teams played this afternoon at 5:40. Redbirds are in third place in the division, but here's the thing. They're only 3 games behind the first place club, Cubs.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The Senate's version of a massive spending and tax cut bill continues taking shape. Republicans hope to wrap up work in time to get the bill to President Trump's desk by Friday the 4th. Senators have stayed up all night for the past several days in a bid to get the job done.
I just want to share with America the great work that Republicans have done on Medicaid, that we're preserving it, we're protecting it, we're strengthening it for those who need it the most.
GOP Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas answering Democrat claims to the contrary. Some 9,000 blue-collar city workers have gone on strike in Philadelphia. Sanitation workers and 911 dispatchers among those who have hit the bricks. President Trump pays a visit to Alligator Alcatraz today, the new detention center for criminal illegal aliens in Florida. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says it can hold up to 5,000 detainees.
The facility is in the heart of the Everglades and will be informally known as Alligator Alcatraz. There is only one road leading in, and the only way out is a one-way flight.
A true test of presidential patience.
When the president had trouble connecting with thousands of Christian, Jewish, and Muslim leaders in a White House conference call Monday afternoon, he did not exhibit the biblical virtues of patience, kindness, or self-control. Instead, he quickly complained in social media posts about AT&T, saying they don't know what they're doing. He also threatened to use a different carrier next time. The call started after a 20-minute delay. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Word of a plea deal that will spare Brian Kohberger a death sentence, charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students a few years ago. He'll reportedly plead guilty and will be sentenced to 4 consecutive life prison terms, no parole. On Wall Street, Dow futures down 32. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This special alert is for all Americans who own a vehicle. If you have a warranty that's about to expire or no warranty coverage at all, this message is for you. It's time to stop worrying about future car repairs today. Your vehicle is essential, but unexpected breakdowns can derail your plans and your wallet. It's time to future-proof your ride with CarShield. CarShield offers a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that saves drivers thousands from out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Imagine if your engine quits or your transmission fails. You could pay a fraction of the repair costs. This protection plan is at an all-time low, and to give you even more peace of mind, drivers who activate today also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Don't wait for a breakdown to drain your savings. Future-proof your car with CarShield today and drive with confidence. Call CarShield for your free quick quote. Call 800-894-9190. That's 800-894-9190. What do you have to lose? Call 800-894-9190. That's 800-894-9190. Again, 800-894-9190.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Great news. The cold front is now to the south, which means we're going to steadily feel that humidity dropping throughout the day today. Temperatures near 87 degrees. Today's actually the coolest day that we will have for some time. Mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, in the 70s overnight, back in the 90s tomorrow. The humidity begins to creep up by Friday. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Colombo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hey, firearms enthusiast, looking for a family and veteran-owned shop with a wide selection of products and services? Head to DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green. DG Firearms has been your one-stop shop for custom ARs, Cerakoting, laser engraving, gunsmithing, suppressors, ammo, and reloading supplies. DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green, and online at dgfirearmsllc.com.
Mike Ferguson,
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer,
I triple dog dare you! Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
All right, I think I can sum up the state of our national politics right now in 3 words.
What's that?
What a mess.
You're not wrong.
Oh, my goodness. I'm talking about the U.S. Senate and the hot, steaming pile of big, beautiful bill entrails.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it too early to be talking about 2028 presidential candidates and polling and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Of course, yeah.
But so let's discuss it anyway.
Let's do it anyway.
Let's do it anyway at 7:20 because we're a news and political show, and then that's why we do this.
That's why we do it. I mean, is it way too early and ridiculous? Absolutely.
Is the polling useless?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So do you agree with it? Democrats, Republicans, who do you want to see as a nominee in 2020?
Let's talk.
It is 7:06 right now, joined by the one and the only Chris Arps here, political pundit extraordinaire, commentator on Newsmax TV as well. And so, Chris, what the bleepity bleep is happening right now in the U.S. Senate? I mean, seriously, what a mess.
Gentlemen, I think what we're witnessing is democracy in action. We're talking about a lot of money being spent here. We're talking about taxes on the American people. You have one side that thinks that this bill spends way too much money and doesn't cut enough spending. You have factions that are worried about the state and local tax deduction, Medicaid, even energy. Some people still want to keep Joe Biden's green energy plan. Some senators, Republican senators in Western states. So I think what we're seeing here is democracy. Sometimes it's not pretty. It's the sausage being made. I don't think that the July 4th deadline will be made, but as Congressman Onder said on our show last week or a couple weeks ago, he thinks this bill will pass, but it will probably be in the middle or in late July.
Morning, Chris. Gabe here. So,
Good morning, Gabe.
What are the major, like the key points, I think, of argument that seem to be circulating out there in Capitol Hill?
Well, I think one is deficits. You have those in the House Freedom Caucus who believe that the Senate bill spends $1 billion more than what they pass, so they have issues with that. Again, Medicaid cuts. Some of the members have been assuaged by a huge fund that's going to be created just for rural hospitals if Medicaid cuts affect them. So Josh Hawley is a yes because of that. As I mentioned earlier, the SALT deduction, many House Republicans feel $40,000 is way too high. And Mike Lee, senator from Utah, proposed a $10,000 permanent SALT cap. So I think you have a lot. Those 4 issues are the main ones that are being debated, and the things that are holding up a July 4th bill going to the president's desk.
So, Chris, I want to follow up on what you just said regarding the deadline on this. I understand a CEO. I understand an executive saying, all right, I want this done by this date. I get that. I completely get that. At this point, I'm seeing news media, saying, including Newsmax, they're saying, July 4th deadline looms. that's an arbitrary date. That's just what one branch of government asked of the other one. Are they risking trying to adhere to an artificial date to the point where the mad dash and scramble is going to allow a bunch of garbage to get signed into law that nobody reads, and that the bureaucrats and the special interests are able to slip in there because they're trying to get it under the wire and nobody has time to vet this stuff? That's part of the chaos that bothers me the most.
I think you're going to have that come into play. I also think you're going to have President Trump putting tremendous pressure on the holdouts in the House. He's basically told them a couple of weeks ago, whatever the Senate passes, when it comes over to the House, I want you guys to pass that as well. I mean, the president is sitting on $1 billion fund that he says that he can use to primary people. He's already said that he wants to primary Massey. He was going to primary Tom Tillis of North Carolina, but he decided to resign. Don Bacon from Nebraska, who's from a moderate district, he has decided to retire instead of facing a primary. So you're going to have that tremendous pressure from the president, but also the Musk-Trump war has started over once again, and Musk said the other day that he would fund candidates who vote, who do support this in primaries, who don't support this bill, in primaries. So this is really getting ugly.
Yeah.
Let me just read you something here that Trump tweeted out yesterday. This is like, wow. He said, quote, Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far. Elon would probably have to close shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good hard look at this. Big money to be saved. So that's a pretty big salvo there. The president launched against Elon.
That's just unreal. And let me follow up on what you just said, like the primarying Republicans here.
Yeah.
And so, once you get outside of even, each branch of government is supposed to do different things. What's the argument for going after people in your own party? Thomas Massey, consistently one of, if not the most conservative fiscal hawks out there. I think it's just stupid to go try to recruit and primary against Massey because he defied the leader.
I think the way that Trump sees it, and a lot of people see it, is Donald Trump is the leader of the party, and this is what he wants. This is what you have to give him. And if it costs you your seat, then so be it. We have an example of that. Nancy Pelosi made a lot of her members walk the plank for Obamacare back in the day. They voted for it, and when election came around, they lost their seat. So I think we're just seeing the raw wielding of power, Mike.
So, Chris, what's your prognostication? Is this thing going to eventually get through? And then, or
some version of it
is going to get through. What do you think we're actually going to get out of it?
I think we're going to see eventually the Senate version being passed. I think the president is going to twist a lot of arms to get some of the House members to agree with this. I don't know what he can offer them outside of this to get their vote. But I think ultimately these congressmen, these senators, especially these congressmen, know that the people in their districts love President Trump. And no matter how much of a fiscal hawk you are, the last thing you want to be look like you're not going with the president's agenda.
And you think they're going to make the deadline?
No. But I do think it'll pass this month. But the July 4th deadline is going to be very, very difficult.
I guess this is what would make me a lousy Congress critter, is that I would rather adhere to the constitutional principles than just be with any one politician, be it a popular president or not. I mean, and I know that's not the practical aspect of right now, but I would rather have somebody say, can we do something actually fiscally conservative right now, more than just adhere to what the leader says?
Yeah. And also too, Mike, as you know, you've been in politics a long time. The first rule for a politician is self-preservation. They want to be reelected. So that comes first and foremost, and then allegiance to the president and your party. But first of all, I got to be reelected.
Right. Well, and I think Massey's going to withstand any primary that's out there. He's pretty darn popular.
He has before.
Yeah,
he's done it a couple of times.
Yeah. So I think this may have been a miscalculation by the president on this, because he recruits in a primary opponent endorses him, shows up in Kentucky, he gets millions of dollars, and then still loses.
Yeah.
Well, wait till that emboldens Massey even more, and I hope that's exactly what happens. All right.
And what you probably end up having, you'll probably end up having Musk step in and give Massey all the money he needs to counter whatever Trump throws in.
By the way, I've noticed that there aren't any Teslas being lit on fire over the last couple of weeks.
No, and I think part of that's because, Elon has kind of stepped out of the public scene. He's given up his Doge role. He's gone back to running his myriad of companies. And once you're out of the news, the crazies kind of leave you alone, apparently.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Because they had to switch their flags from the anti-Elon flag to the Hamas flag to the what was the Palestinian and then the
which flag season is it right now?
I think it's Iranian flag season currently.
Right.
Yeah. I think
So I was going to ask that. Okay, it's a new month. So what are we celebrating this month? Last month was LGBTQ month.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But then it was wait a minute, it was Palestinian, then it was LGBT,
right?
And because those intersect so much, and then Iranian. I mean, but God forbid that we actually have maybe American flags.
American flags.
We got too many others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. All right, Chris Arps, appreciate you trying to make sense of all of this because I understand the goal and the president saying this is the agenda I'm setting. I want my party to reach this. I completely get it. At this point, I think his deadline is deleterious to his own effort. And Gabe said earlier, a really good piece of leadership would be, all right, take a deep breath, calm down, go home. Let's get it done right. Maybe by the end of the month or something like that. But don't risk the chaos of all kinds of garbage being able to get through there. It seems to me you're just enabling the left and the Democrats to throw monkey wrench after monkey wrench after monkey wrench into it.
I think you got to have a deadline. If you don't, then it just drifts on and on and on. You got to try to set a hard deadline, even if you don't reach it.
All right. Of course, Chris, along with Tim Jones, going to be on at 4:00 this afternoon, and you're going to have more updates than we've got right now because God only knows what's going to happen between now and then.
Oh, yeah. Votorama continues.
Exactly. All right, Chris. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chris. See ya.
All right. 314-912-1019. Got some thoughts on that. Let me know. But let's talk about, because it's way too early.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and talk about polling.
Yeah.
That means nothing. And here's the question I'm putting out there, because most of the people listening are going to be voting in the Republican primaries or caucuses or be involved in that. Who do you want to see emerge as the early front runner? We've got the results of a poll of both Republicans and Democrats. I'm curious as to whether the results surprise you, even though I think the polling is basically garbage right now.
Enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I've driven all over Washington, D.C. I cannot find the money tree.
On News Talk STL.
On the next.
Larry Connors, USA.
President Trump visits a new holding place for illegals. Welcome to Alligator Alley.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for the Great Window World. You know, just over the last 20 years of Window World being in St. Louis, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 76,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Taste the difference that fresh local makes. Anthony's Produce supports our local farmers by bringing you the finest locally grown produce in town. From the juiciest peaches and melons to the sweetest corn and ripest tomatoes, we've got it all. Plus, discover our amazing selection of locally made jams, salsas, pickles, and fresh sourdough breads. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6:30, and Sundays, 8 to 5. 701 Jungerman Road in St. Peters, or visit anthonysproduce.com.
This is 1019 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this dysfunctional radio station. It's The Right Mind Show with me, Todd Showalter, at 5 on Saturday. And, you know, speaking of dysfunctional, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Today's show is brought to you by the new Jurassic World movie. Want to know what it's about? Just watch the last one.
That sounds about right.
That sounds every single Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies are the same thing. Oh no, the dinosaurs are loose.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's the theme. That's it.
Yeah.
Hey, we mess with nature. The dinosaurs are loose.
The mama dinosaur's looking for the baby dinosaur.
Oh no, the dinosaurs are loose.
Right. I actually here's how out of touch I am. I didn't even know there was a new Jurassic Park movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw it advertised on
Mike,
one
get it
of my
right. It's Jurassic World.
Or
now.
Jurassic World.
It's Jurassic World now.
Okay.
It's a whole
it.
different franchise.
Yeah. And what's her name? Scarlett Johansson's in it, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I finally saw the ad for it. It actually looks like it's probably a pretty entertaining movie.
Yeah, that's the point of these.
Right.
They're
Just don't overthink.
They're the summer popcorn blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like, the dinosaurs are loose. That's it.
Well, I mean, I guess there's something to be said though. If people are willing to see a movie that the core thing is, wow, look what we've done, and then the end of it is, oh no, what have we done?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're willing to keep showing up for it,
Hey, you know what? The CGI gets better every year or every one with the dinosaurs. I've seen like the first two. How many are there? I don't even know how many there are now.
Let's see. I think there are like 3 or 4 parks and at least 3 worlds.
Got it.
But dinosaurs are cool though.
They are cool.
Dinosaurs are awesome.
They're cool.
That first movie, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was such a great.
Oh my gosh.
It really was great.
Actually, just stay home and watch it.
And when he ate the lawyer.
Awesome. Everybody
great.
cheered.
All right. I know that technically JB Pritzker is waddling for re-election as governor. But come on. We all know he's actually waddling for president 2028. So how's that going for him this early?
And on that note as well, before we get to that, there's no Flashback Friday this week. I know. But we can have some fun honoring America before the holiday.
Yeah.
What patriotic song do you want to hear as America bump music on Thursday? I see that there are quite a few requests in
Yes.
the StreamYard or the Rumble chat. Now, I want to remind everybody
We started something with that.
once the stream ends, all of our comments go away.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of buttons to push to get the show running. So if you could email me your requests, they
Just
don't
to
have
make
all
sure
be-
it gets in.
Yes, they don't all have to
We'll
be
start
serious.
writing down as many as we can. But yeah.
But I think we're gonna have a great substitute for Flashback Friday coming this Thursday.
Yep. But that means that you probably need to get them in by tomorrow.
Yeah,
I
seriously.
would think.
Oh, yeah, we've already got like probably close to a dozen requests. We only
Wow.
have so many slots, so I might end up having to pull them out of a hat this time.
Yeah, send them in. All right. Okay, so Emerson College did a preference polls, one among Democrats, one among Republicans, about who they like for the 2028 presidential campaign. Let's just say JB Pritzker's got a long way to go. Got a long way to go. But here's the thing is, we know what I think of the state of polling.
Right.
I still am a sucker for looking at them, even though I know they are probably not accurate to any sort of pinpoint degree, but it is kind of interesting to see what the initial reflection is.
Sure.
Even if you could be, they say that there are 4% margin of error.
Oh no, there's massive
there's
margins of error. But watching them actually as they progress, that actually can provide some information.
Yeah.
Because the numbers are garbage, but the direction that the numbers move over time can actually mean something.
Yeah. So with the Democrats here, now the most common answer, 23%, was undecided. That actually makes sense.
That tracks.
That makes a lot of sense. Frankly, that's probably where it should be across the board, because it's like, it's 2028, it's 2025. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you know nothing.
Yeah, there should be. This basically should be the WTF. Like, what are you talking about? Okay, but when you look at this, and let's see here, this was conducted just before last week. Okay. The number one pick for Democrats at 16% was Pete Buttigieg.
And I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
That's one thing I wasn't expecting. But once I thought about it for a second, once you kind of reminded us that, hey, he is probably the least weird of the weirds that who's have name recognition.
And he's really weird.
It makes sense. He's really weird.
Weird.
He's a weird guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, he looks like he needs to be the cover of a Mad magazine.
Right.
But but seriously, he's the least weird out of all of the people.
Oh my goodness. Number 2, Kamala Harris.
There you go.
13%.
Again, I think that's completely name recognition.
Yes.
And I guess whatever remaining clout there is from having been vice president.
See, that's the thing, is you would expect the most recent nominee and most recent vice president to be the automatic
number
leader.
One. Yeah, that's true.
That's really bad for her.
That's a good point. Yes.
Really bad for her that she's not the leader.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Gavin Newsom, 12%.
Makes sense.
That's about where I would think he would want to be.
He's been trying to cultivate his national profile for years now, with the hopes of expressing his presidential aspirations that way. So yeah, I think people have been thinking about him and having him in that conversation for a while.
AOC, number 4.
That one's weird.
Yeah.
But again, she's making these tours with Bernie, and they're drawing thousands. So, somebody decided that crowd size is an important indicator of political.
But you've got AOC
support.
at 4, Pete Buttigieg, number 1. What does that say about the Democratic voter if this is even close to being in the hemisphere of accurate? And I don't know that it is, but let's for fun say that this is kind of in the ballpark. What does that say that Pete Buttigieg is number 1 and AOC is number 4?
And then of course those characters in the middle, that says to me that they learned nothing from their loss.
Mhm.
That they are not pulling back whatsoever on any of the craziness that they're thinking about, and they're leaning hard in the I won't say the old mold of the Democrat Party. I mean, it's still pretty new, this weird leftist turn, but they're leaning into that. They're leaning in further, and they're quadrupling down at this point on their stupidity.
AOC at 7%, and at a lower 7 point something percent is Josh Shapiro.
Now the Josh
the
Shapiro
governor of
one,
Pennsylvania.
Now he's the only indicator that there are some people within the Democrat Party who understand America,
because he is a center left Democrat. He's not an insane left. He's a liberal. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I disagree with him on probably most everything, but he's not insane like the others.
Right.
But he'll never get nominated by the Democratic Party.
Yeah, he's way too palatable for the rest of America.
And he's Jewish.
The
Democrats will not.
That's the primary thing.
Yeah, the Democrats are not going to nominate somebody who's Jewish. There's too much anti-Semitism on the left right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, all of those the keffiyehs that everybody's been wearing lately, and of course the various chants of from the river to the sea,
right?
And
they're talking about him,
the Iranian flags. Yeah, they're talking. Looking at you, man.
Yeah.
That's basically what they might as well be saying. So
leftist activists literally set his governor's mansion where he lives and he and his family live on fire with them in it.
Yeah,
there was a fire, an arson started at the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania with him and his family inside.
Yeah,
that's what leftists think of him.
Yeah. So it makes sense that he would be on the bottom. I don't think that percentage is going to change. I think that's the percentage of reasonable Democrats that remain in the party.
Yep. All right. So after Josh Shapiro, then now we're into the 5%, Bernie Sanders. One
Makes
out
sense.
of 20 Democrats still thinks Bernie Sanders is a viable candidate.
Relevant, first of all, and viable. And I think that also has to do with the same thing. That's the AOC tour. Like him and AOC are, in each other's back pocket, walking around the country.
And the funny part is that he was supposed to be the headliner with her being the opening act, and it's kind of flipped.
Oh, of course, because the thing is, the young Bernie folks, those who
Bernie
haven't
bros.
those who haven't jumped the ship, to the populist right, who are still in the basically the commie left. AOC is like, the goddess,
right? Yeah.
I still think it's funny that people that are saying that Trump is, potentially too old to be president are still onto the burnout movie. I call them the burnouts, but
nice.
Burnouts.
I like burnouts.
And then after Bernie Sanders, you've got Cory Booker, but he's barely ahead of Pritzker at 3%. Spartacus is only at 3%.
Yeah.
Gretchen Whitmer at 3%.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Bashir at 2%.
Andy
Bashir is the governor of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And Andy Bashir is electable.
That's true.
He's like Shapiro.
He's a Shapiro, yeah.
He's a leftist, don't get me wrong, but he's not insane leftist.
Right.
So the two names on here that you could actually say, ooh, I can see them as being a threat. Democrats like, no, we don't need them.
Nah.
We don't want them. Not at all. Real quick on the Republican side, you guessed it right earlier. 46% of those Republicans polled said Vice President J.D. Vance is their early pick.
Everybody fell in love with that advanced glance.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he looked at us and our hearts skipped a beat.
I don't know that J.D. Vance would be the strongest general election candidate, but that's the favorite right now.
Mm-hmm.
Marco Rubio, who MAGA hated up until about 4 months ago.
5 minutes.
He's at 12%. Ron DeSantis at 9%. Left-wing authoritarian RFK Jr. at 5%.
RFK Jr. is on this list.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I know. This is why I'm like, this is insane. And then you get into the 2s and 1%. Kristi Noem, Nikki Haley, Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, Glenn Youngkin, et cetera, et cetera.
Gabbard and RFK shouldn't be on the list. Guys, pay attention. What are you doing?
Yeah, some things you just can't make up. Like what Iran is doing right now.
Really?
Yeah, coming up on Larry Connor's commentary. Stay tuned.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Always be yourself unless you suck.
On NewsTalkSTL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Great news. The cold front is now to the south, which means we're going to steadily feel that humidity dropping throughout the day today. Temperatures near 87 degrees. Today is actually the coolest day that we will have for some time. Mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, in the 70s overnight, back in the 90s tomorrow. The humidity begins to creep up by Friday. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
I've got a great evening planned for you. We start with dining at the Oak Street Inn Lounge in Cottleville. We enjoy sunset on the rooftop, then down to the speakeasy. Just one visit, you're going to see why I'm always talking about the Oak Street Inn and Lounge. Plus, you might want to plan a staycation, a romantic getaway. Check out oakstreetinandlounge.com for various events this summer. Oak Street Inn and Lounge, Cottleville. Oak Street Inn and Lounge, Cottleville.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit vincentsjewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
There are some things in life you just can't make up, and yet they happen. Or did they? They sound like fiction, but, well, for instance, Abraham Lincoln's son, Robert, was saved from a dangerous fall by a guy by the name of Edwin Booth, brother of John Wilkes Booth, who would later assassinate the president. Then there's a story of a flight attendant who survived the fall from 33,000 feet after a bomb explosion. She was cushioned by part of the plane. And here comes another, you can't make this up. Iran wants the U.S. to pay for destroying its nuclear facilities. That's right. Iran says it spent a lot of money to develop its nuclear bomb, and we destroyed the effort. so we should reimburse them for such a heinous crime. There's no specific dollar amount, but really, just the fact that Iran thinks we should pay, you can't make this stuff up, can you? And that's like the other bizarre story of the headless chicken that survived 18 months without a head. And it's a fact. As I said, you can't make this stuff up.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester and McKnight in Rock Hill.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunder Stealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, St. Louis police are warning parents about sending kids downtown this holiday weekend. I'm going to explain why in just a moment.
And the News Talk STL newsletter is coming out tomorrow, but you can make sure that you're signed up to get it for free on our website.
Yep, good stuff there. All right, St. Louis police are saying it out loud. Parents, don't let your kids run around downtown this Independence weekend. I've got a follow-up question. What kind of parent would let your kid run around downtown any weekend?
Yeah, but it's like,
I mean, I know they do it, but
yeah, seriously. Okay. First of all, I hate the idea of basically unleashing your unruly little brats on the rest of the world anyway. Like back in the day, I suppose it was okay. You know, you probably have fond memories of being dropped off at the mall by your parents. It's not that way anymore. Don't let your kids don't drop them off someplace because you're causing problems to the world. Certainly don't put them in downtown because that's the worst place for them to be.
I just want to point out the irony of the people saying we grew up feral children running all around the streets in the 80s saying, what are you doing with these kids? You need to watch your kids.
Exactly.
Well, the thing is, I completely.
See, that's a logical point. It really is.
I completely take that. But here's the difference. Back in the 80s, if you screwed up in somebody else's neighborhood, somebody else's dad is going to come and put a whipping on you. So we at least we kept our craziness to the woods.
Or even worse, they knew your parents and would let them know.
Yes, you would get it twice, basically. So you would get it in the street from somebody else's dad, and then he would call your dad. So when you got home, you'd get it from him. So yeah, there were more societal structure around regulating child behavior, I think, back in the day, so we could be feral. Nowadays, I wouldn't,
or at least we thought we were feral. we thought we were wild and feral, but the reality, I look back, and
we
it's
were
like,
well regulated by the society.
We were scared that we were going to abuse our ferality. And I don't even know if that's a word.
We self-regulated.
Yeah, we self-regulated. Yeah.
So it sounds like the lack of consequences for action. So maybe is it time to have a discussion? If your kids are out there acting like menaces to society and hurting people, should the parents face the consequences as well?
Okay, so that's what the police are actually saying. They had kind of a press conference yesterday, and so I'm reading about it in the news on the different websites. And first, they're just flat out saying from some of the activists in town, like one of them says, "I'm begging the St. Louis community for our kids, please be on your best behavior." But then you go to Mitch McCoy, who is the spokesperson for the St. Louis police, and he is quoted as saying, if you are a parent and you plan on letting your kids come to downtown St. Louis, you might want to think again. He says, if your kids are not responsible, we are holding you responsible. Now, remember, there were 7 people shot, including a teenager last 4th of July, last Independence Day holiday in downtown Kansas City. St. Louis. But when you look at the craziness that happens down there anyway, and there aren't that many people who go downtown, but the ones who do cause a bunch of problems, and there are businesses down there. I mean, it bothers me like crazy that my daughter works downtown.
Yes.
In the nightlife, industry.
It bothers me, and she's not even my daughter.
She's not your daughter, but you know Amber.
I know Amber.
and she's got an apartment that's not far from the stadium. It's a nice apartment, but it's just a horrible area.
It's too close to all the crap.
It's too close to the terrible areas. I don't like it. But you know what? She's making money and she's living her life, and there's nothing I can do about it. I just make sure I keep my phone next to me in case stuff goes down. So when the police are saying, listen, we know what the plan is. We know you drop your kids off. They run wild in the streets. And then because they're juveniles, then there's not much we can do. And so they're saying, parents, we're going to go after you. Now, how much they mean it or what they can do, I don't know. And this is not unique to St. Louis, and Kansas City was in mind because a few years ago, the Kansas City police did something similar.
Right.
And they said, we're going to, if we even see kids alone, teenagers alone, we're calling the parents.
Right.
And so they tried that kind of as a pilot thing.
Well, interestingly enough, it's basically trying to codify something that society was doing way back in the day. Like we used to have sort of societal expectations upon parents about the conduct of their children.
Right.
Like, you would do not be the parent whose child is being unruly at a grocery store, because we're all looking at you first.
Yep.
And then at the, you know what I mean? And there was a lot of pressure, societal pressure on parents to keep their kids under control.
Yeah.
I think that the further back in time you go,
now it's you harassing my kids.
Right. He's like, you can't talk to my kid that way if you tell him to, stop stealing.
Right.
It's like, back in the day, it used to be, no, you'd get it from everybody.
Yeah.
It's like random grandma at the grocery store is smacking your hand for doing something stupid. and then you might look to your mom. It's like, that lady hit me. It's like, I'll hit you too. Stop doing that bull crap.
You see, and now we've got coming just off of the Pride weekend, which surprised everybody with how violent that got. And it was violent in the actual like rainbow flag part of St. Louis. I mean, it wasn't even necessarily where the permitted Pride parades and all that kind of nonsense was happening.
Unlikely for violence.
Unlikely. Yeah. The area that has more violence was fine. And then the less suspected area had fights break out, 6 people arrested, 2 people shot, couple police officers hurt. And so police are basically saying, we're not putting up with that again. So the police are talking tough again. But then again, they also know that there's a new boss. There is a board of police commissioners now. And now Tashara Jones is not who they have to worry about. So I'm sensing already they're feeling a little more emboldened.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, having a prosecutor who will actually prosecute people, that's kind of a big deal. having a police chief who now has his, the backing of a board that isn't under the thumb of an anti-police mayor is feeling, like, what, maybe I could actually do something this time.
Yeah. And I'm still withholding judgment on Robert Tracy. I haven't been wild about some of his decisions, but that might have been just kowtowing to Tashara Jones.
Right.
We'll see how he does with the new board of police commissioners. I hope that he is able to do. I hope that he wants to do the right thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, the city isn't back yet, but the
no.
trajectory looks a little better.
Even just the mindset at this point, because it's going to take a while. I mean, the actual board of police commissioners doesn't really get seated as far as doing stuff until I think next month, meaning August, because now it's July.
Right.
So, and I don't think we're going to start seeing material changes as far as, spending money on equipment and new vehicles and new hiring. And then even at that point, you've got to put them through the academy and all this kind of stuff. So it's going to be a ramp up period. But the fact that the police are being more aggressive now in proactive saying, don't send your miscreants to just do miscreant stuff.
Now, I know that we don't like it too much when the government tries to claw their way into the homes and the schools and take over the parenting on behalf of the parents, but culture to some extent starts at home. And so locking these kids up, I grew up with kids that were in and out of the system all the time. So it seems like, if you drive too recklessly, you have to go back to driving school. Should it be something where if your kids are routinely in and out of the system, then you have to go to a mandatory parenting class or something of that nature? Is
there you go.
That too much government overreach?
Who teaches the parenting class?
Yeah.
The nuns. Let's have the
nuns.
nuns.
Like,
Give them the rulers.
There you go. Get the rulers back.
Yeah.
Bring back the rulers.
Yeah.
The knuckle smashes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but that's point. At some point, it's a matter of you've got the freedom to act how you want, but there are consequences when you violate.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is downtown, at some point they need to say, okay, we're going to knock it off with the fireworks. I know the Arch is a great back, setting for it, and it's a great location for a big party, but the city's just become too violent. Matter of fact, tomorrow we're looking at a new report. Dr. Curry Myers, America's criminologist, going to be on the show. Guess who the number one city per capita for violent crime is again in the nation?
Oh boy.
St. Louis.
There we go.
And so maybe at some point we just say, listen, we're going to cool it with all this stuff. We're going to stop trying to attract people downtown until we get our stuff in order, until we can make this a safer community. But in the meantime, it's like, well, what about all the economic activity? Well, there's a trade-off here. Behave yourself, and then you can have nice things. Don't behave yourself. You can't have nice things.
And the societal comeback that it's necessary to get back there that's a heavy lift.
And the thing is that I'm not jumping in ready to help right now until they show that they're willing to do the right thing with the city. Otherwise, let it crumble and I'll be a part of helping to rebuild. But right now, the city needs to show the entire region in the country more than what we're seeing right now.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men.
His remarks are racist.
On NewsTalkSTL.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colony.
Sweet. I'll bring my 500 cousins. This will be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888 to learn more about our special $67 offer.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure Full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the All-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
All right, got just something a little different here. I got kind of an off-the-wall question for you. Okay. So, I mean, obviously it's a news talk show, and for, you know, I don't normally do this, but I want you to bear with me in just a moment here. And Gabe, we got this app. Tell us about the app.
Okay, so
because I didn't write it.
Yeah, didn't write it. Okay, but News Talk STL app is one of the coolest things on my phone because if you have your phone, you have a radio. And so you can listen to us anywhere in the world through the app. Crystal clear audio, and you can use any of the features there on the Wheel of Fun, I like to call it, where you can log which your favorite podcasts. You can kind of get alerts for all these things. You can chat with us. You can send messages. You can connect directly to any of our social media. It's a really cool app. Make sure you download it from the App Store. And if you had the old one, make sure it's updated to the new one. The new one's where you get the Wheel of Fun.
Okay, so I know this is totally off the wall for a show. Like this is very different. And on the Facebook comments and Rumble chat, let me know what you say. I have never heard of this band that I'm about to play a clip from the song. Tell me what you think about this. Everybody, let me know what you think here.
Flicker lights on silver sand. Marching ghosts with no command. Velvet boots on mirrored ground. Drums of thunder, distant sound. Promises in static blue.
Curious what you guys think of this band here. Just got a few, I'm gonna play it. Let's play it for a few more seconds.
Nice.
Echo loud inside. Float away, don't close your eyes. Smoke is written in the skies. Sing the lie they made you learn. Let it burn, let it burn.
Okay, so
That's a solid melody.
Yeah, that's a band called it's a group called the Velvet Sundown. You ever heard of them? No, never. Okay,
they brand new.
Yeah, apparently on Spotify they've already got 500,000 monthly listeners.
Wow!
And that song's called "Let It Burn."
Okay,
is what it's called here. And so they've got other songs that are really popular. Something called "Echoes Through the Pines," "Dust on the Wind."
Okay,
stuff like that.
Well, solid song construction,
right?
Nice voices. It sounds nice.
Yeah.
Gives me so you know what Greta Van Fleet is to like Led Zeppelin, right?
Sure,
It's kind of
yeah.
like that to maybe like a Pink Floyd almost.
A little bit, yeah. I can hear that.
So let's see here. Corporeal Being says sounds like early 70s. 101 Straight Up says this is okay, kind of as a bluesy sound. That's what jumped out at me, a bluesy sound as well.
Kathleen says it's too sad. We're sorry, Kathleen.
Oh yeah, it that was a particularly sad song.
It was,
but it's well done. It's well done as a sort of
sad songs mean so much.
Absolutely.
So much as like that philosopher Elton John once said. Not a single real instrument or human being was involved in that song.
I was wondering.
That's an AI construction.
It's an AI band with an AI song.
That is an AI everything. So
AI everything.
That's why I brought this up because you know, back at my place, I mean, sometimes like what I'll do at the end of the night is I'll just go to YouTube and just put like some background music on. A lot of times it's like, you know, blues and metal or jazz or whatever. And after a little bit, I'm thinking, I bet you this is AI. Yeah. Does that matter if the song sounds pretty good?
Well, here's the thing.
You guys are both musicians. I'm not. So that's why I'm curious about this.
I think part of the thing is AI has just learned from what humans have done till now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all AI is basically it's a really high level aggregator of the human experience up till 2025. So the reason why that song feels good or feels a certain way or sounds a certain way is because it's a construction of all the songs of the same type that you've already heard before and like. So it's, I mean, I get it, but it's also creatively bankrupt.
Yeah, so as a drummers, we can't copyright what we perform because so we don't get paid unless we actually get paid. I don't want to say it doesn't matter because I do believe in intellectual property and the amount of effort and time that people put in there, and we all know AI references existing things to make its creation. So in a way, it is almost not that much different than stealing a song. However, there are some comments where you get that there was already a feeling of like it's not soulful. It doesn't really feel like it sounds. You can hear the melodicness of it, but it does not feel like an actual song.
But think about it: 500,000 listeners, followers on Spotify. So I mean, what do you? Spotify is what, about $1 a song, $1.25 a song, something like that.
I don't even know how it works.
Or if you do the subscription, but you get paid something. So whoever,
it's like 5 cents a song at most.
Yeah, if you're a contributor.
But think about it this way: I have no actual musical ability. I'm not a musical guy. I've got a good ear for it, I'm told. I mean, but I can't sing. I can't play an instrument. I'm a pretty good writer, you know. But if I were to write an album of songs and create a character, and I used AI to create the songs like this right here. Yeah. And I built up and started making money because that song is an original song. I mean, it's created by AI, may be created by the sum total of everything else. But is there anything unartistic or invalid if I were to start making money with my AI characters creating something I am not capable of doing?
Wow. Yeah, that's a very interesting
because
question.
Somebody's making money off this because they created a product that people like, hey, that sounds good, and download it. Would you have an issue like, that's a pretty good song, I'm going to put that on my playlist, and then you find out it's not a fake song, but it's fake everything about the song?
Well, so the closest that I can think of really is like the Gorillaz, right? Where they're an animated fake band, but then
somebody actually sang the song.
Do they actually make the music? You know, I do think that there is something spiritually corrupt about having AI make the entertainment. Now, I do listen to like the funny ones. You know, there's a whole genre of like 50s songs that would have never come out in the 50s.
Oh,
hilarious.
Which we can't play on there. They are so vulgar. That's what makes them funny.
50s remixes of existing songs of today's songs, things like that. Yeah.
So if it's strictly for an entertainment, like, you know, basically for the meme of it, then I think that that's an interesting and can be a fun thing. But if it's not like, hey, we're gonna AI generate a song and then we're gonna go out and make a shtick around it and perform it live, that just
I mean, you can. I mean, I guess you could probably find somebody who could mimic this live, but
I suppose
the reality was there were people who went, hey, that sounds pretty good, and then I told you it's actually just AI generation. It's like no people. I mean, it could be somebody like me who couldn't, you know, compose a song to save my life. But now AI lets me do it. Does that simply open up more creativity of people who know how to use it? Or is that, like you said, kind of bankrupt in all these other soulful spiritual ways?
Well, I feel like it falls kind of into that idea of, you know, like with Napster and piracy almost, because a lot of venues, they have to pay, you know, if you have bands going on, you have music in between, you have to pay the artist that you play the music for. Now you can just play an AI song to not have to pay really anybody.
Right.
You know, and so that.
Well, I mean, for instance, when I did the national show, I played a bunch of bump music that I just paid a license to pay. So I didn't pay any artist. I paid somebody who made generic music in order to save me money.
And it's already very, very, I mean, as a ex-touring drummer, you know, it's a very competitive market to even try to get your stuff in with the local acts and let alone the national, you know.
And now you're competing with an AI that says, this is what the trend is. This is what people likes. We'll create something right for
and
you.
it can produce it instantly.
And when you are a top level musician, like a Michael Jackson type, and you sign away your likeness for perpetuary, and then now you can AI generate. So, I mean, maybe that'll be the thing for the next few years. We're not gonna have anything original. We're just gonna have AI remakes of.
And that's part of the thing that I'm having a problem with, is that because AI is built on the things that already exist, it's never going to be creative. It's never going to come up with a new genre or a new take on the genre. You know, one of the things that we loved about the 80s was that it basically created a whole bunch of things, and nobody's creating anymore.
Yeah. Amy says, I only want to hear music from actual people. But if the song's a banger, it's a banger.
Yeah. If you can't tell, does it actually matter?
Replacing your windows and doors? Do not settle for ordinary. Go extraordinary. Renewal by Anderson, the full-service window and door replacement division of Anderson, a name trusted for more than 120 years. Their exclusive FiberX material combines the strength, durability of wood with low-maintenance features of vinyl. You get windows and doors twice as strong as vinyl, energy efficient, built to last. For a limited time, get 25% off every window, patio door, or entry door. No payments for 18 months, zero interest. This is their best new client discount. Dial pound 250, say the keyword windows, or visit rbastl.com. Pound 250, keyword windows, rbastl.com. Get your free estimate. Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Vice President Vance has returned to Capitol Hill to cast a tie-breaking vote in the Senate, if necessary, to get the huge spending and tax cut bill across the finish line. Senators worked through the night again, crafting their version of a bill, hoping that Congress can get the final version to President Trump by his July 4th deadline. GOP Senator Tom Cotton is bullish on the bill.
It will be the largest tax cut in American history for working Americans. It's going to help rebuild our military, secure our border, unleash American energy production, and so much more. And the Democrats are consistently voting against every one of those things.
The Arkansas Republican on the Salem Radio Network. We are learning more about the gunman who ambushed firefighters in Idaho.
Authorities say the man who shot and killed 2 firefighters shot the firefighters after they asked him to move his vehicle. The shooter also critically wounded a 3rd firefighter during a barrage of gunfire that lasted for hours. The firefighters had raced to battle a blaze at Canfield Mountain in Idaho, which was intentionally set by the shooter. Authorities also say it appears the shooter then killed himself. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The victim's family say Brian Koberger has agreed to plead guilty to murdering 4 University of Idaho students in 2022 as part of a deal with prosecutors to avoid the death penalty. A change of plea hearing has been set for tomorrow. Garbage collectors among the Philadelphia city workers who have gone on strike, and in the heat and humidity of the summer, you know what that means. Roll up your windows and hold your nose. A total of 9,000 city workers in Philadelphia have walked off the job. Watching Wall Street ahead of the opening bell, Dow futures 42 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-894-9190 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-894-9190. That's 800-894-9190. What do you have to lose? Call 800-894-9190. Again, 800-894.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Great news. The cold front is now to the south, which means we're going to steadily feel that humidity dropping throughout the day today. Temperatures near 87 degrees. Today is actually the coolest day that we will have for some time. Mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, in the 70s overnight, back in the 90s tomorrow. The humidity begins to creep up by Friday. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Pfeiffer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
St. Louis.
We let's knock it off.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
All right, newsflash. The U.S. Senate is basically a disheveled mess right now. We are now going into 23 onto 24 hours of the so-called vote-orama. That's happening.
Disheveled. You're being kind with
I know.
disheveled.
The wheel of stuff being thrown on the wall, basically. Also, tornado victims in the city. Hey, heads up. You're going to be able to connect directly with resources at a public meeting tonight. Cardinals win streak has come to an end, but still they're in really a good place when it comes to the race for the pennant in the division. 8:05 right now. Let's dump some news on you here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, like I said, we're going on to the 23rd / almost 24 hours of the so-called vote-orama on the spending and tax bill, because Republicans are trying to meet the president's deadline of July 4th. I'll get to that in just a minute. A lot of mess in the process along the way. For instance, the vote on the amendment that would ban illegal aliens from getting Medicaid failed in the Republican-controlled Senate. Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt was on Fox explaining one part of the bill that's non-negotiable. He says Republicans have to get passed, and that is the extension of the 2017 tax cuts, which are set to expire in 6 months if nothing changes.
If we don't extend those and we want to make them permanent, you're going to see a $4 trillion tax increase. It'd be cataclysmic for the economy, but for working families out there, that's a couple $1,000s a year that would be taken out of their pockets.
And also the bill, as it is proposed, would increase the national debt, or the debt, by about $5 trillion in this bill that the Republicans wrote. So there's some good things in this bill. The Trump tax cuts have to be extended. They should be made permanent, but they have to be extended. And then there's some bad stuff in there, like that debt ceiling increase.
Yeah, I hate how they're basically holding the American economy hostage to get all their garbage through when the Republicans are in charge. So this should be the most fiscally responsible. But I mean, not just that because the Republicans are in charge, but because of the movement of the people here. You know, it's like this is, I think, one of the an electorate that is the most ready for cuts that I've ever seen in my lifetime. We're ready for it. People are like, you know what? It is what it is. We got to do what we got to do. Things are in free fall. You got kind of the force of a guy like Elon Musk behind saying, hey, we're on a track for civilizational collapse here if we don't do something. And a lot of people are on board with that sort of discussion. So this is the right time to do cuts. We have a Republican Congress that could do cuts, but the fact that they're not doing it is mind-boggling.
Yeah. Well, there are some cuts on the Missouri side of things, at least to some degree. Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe announces over $500 million in spending vetoes and restrictions. Those were made as he signed the rest of the state budget into law on Monday. The governor says the budget lawmakers agreed to was about $775 million more than he recommended, hence the cuts and freezes. But still, the state's new budget is a whopping $50.8 billion. And pardon me if I don't jump on the train and say this is a fiscally responsible, we're cutting government right after lawmakers met specifically for the purpose of handing billionaires $2 billion in subsidies and funding for sports stadiums in Kansas City. So I think anybody in state government right now is going to have a hard time arguing that this is a fiscally responsible track that we're on. We're going to visit with Camelia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity about that around 8:35. All right. St. Louis County's animal shelter is licensed again.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah. So we're seeing a step in the right direction.
Well, and temporarily.
At least for now. Yeah. I don't know how good the license is for. They're going to have to be inspected again at some point. After failing 3 inspections this year, the state's Department of Agriculture says it passed Monday's inspection and looks like they were handed the license basically on the spot. The shelter was at risk of being shut down permanently by the state. Shelter management says they've got over 250 animals there right now that they hope to get obviously adopted out or at least placed in foster homes. So even if you're not looking for a new 4-legged member of the household, then think about fostering. The reality is that we really ought to be trying to get to the end goal of privatizing this into the nonprofit sector. That would be the way to go. And there are some county councilmen who are talking about that. But for the time being, at least they're getting some of the problems fixed.
Yeah. I think ultimately they just need to go private with it.
Yeah.
Just give it up. You're the government. You're bad at most things.
Yeah.
And there are people who are willing, able, and demonstrably more capable at doing this.
Yeah. I mean, because we've got a long track record of them simply doing it better than the county government is doing it. And I'm not saying that may necessarily be the case in all counties. In some more rural counties, there may not be the resources for a nonprofit. Maybe you got to have but in St. Louis County, the resources are available in the nonprofit sphere. Just get the county government out of it. You guys suck at it. Stop.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. All right. How excited are Democrats at the prospect of a J.B. Pritzker 2028 presidential campaign? Yeah, apparently as excited as Republicans are for that. According to an article at the Illinois Review, a new Emerson College poll has Governor Pritzker at 2%.
Oh, wow.
Dose. That puts him 10th in the list of possible Democratic presidential candidates who are listed.
Slow waddle.
Yeah, slow waddle. Pete Buttigieg, of all people, leads the pack at 16%.
That's wild to me.
Oh, my goodness. Former Vice President Kamala Harris is at 13%. California Governor Gavin Newsom at 12%, third place in the poll. Not surprisingly, undecided was the most popular category at 23%, which actually makes sense this far out.
Yes.
A similar poll was done among Republicans, and by a wide margin, the early front runner, if you believe these polls, was J.D. Vance, who got 46% of the poll. I would expect the sitting vice president to be in the front part of that poll.
Yeah, I think the Republican side of that poll is much easier to do, considering, you have, your people in office, relatively popular administration. So it makes sense that J.D. Vance is up there.
Now, a lot's going to change between now and 2028, which is why these polls don't mean anything, but it's at least an interesting kind of sort of reflection of what people are thinking right now, even though I think polling is junk right now. All right. This is interesting. If you have an iPhone, there's actually an app out there that will alert you if people say they spotted ICE agents. Yeah. The app was featured on CNN, probably to glowing terms. I haven't seen the CNN story.
Oh, sure. They're basically advertising.
Yeah, it's free. I'm sure it was free advertising. So Borders Czar Tom Homan was asked about this on Fox's The Will Cain Show.
These guys are putting their lives on the line every day, going after the worst and worst internet security threats. And this app makes it that much more dangerous. It's incredible that those who enforce law, all of a sudden they're the bad guys. The ones who break the law, they're victims. It's disgusting.
So a couple things can be true at the same time because Homan says something needs to be done about this app. So a couple things can be true at the same time. Everything Tom Homan just said in that soundbite, true.
Yes, absolutely.
And the First Amendment protects even gross, bad stuff like this.
That's true.
Because they're not actively calling for violence. They're just saying, kind of like an app that would tell you where a DUI checkpoint is.
Mhm.
They're just warning you about where law enforcement is if you choose to avoid that. I would actually appreciate the checkpoint thing, even though I don't drink and drive, just so I can avoid the hassle. But along the similar lines, I imagine this is how it would be treated. But you've got the right to be anti-cop.
Yeah, I mean, you do have that right now, and I appreciate his reaction being one that wants to protect these cops because they are definitely
he's right about that.
Under fire.
Yeah.
They're societally there's a good portion of society that honestly views them as the bad guys,
right?
And drug dealing cartel member, traffickers and all these guys are the victims here.
Right.
They're the good guys in this scenario, according to some of these people in America. So yeah, absolutely. I think, something should be done, but nothing to curtail rights. I think the right way to go is basically to sabotage
because his assessment is spot on.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
Tom Homan is one of the top good guys in this entire thing.
Yep.
All right. A series of town hall events to help tornado victims in the city connect with recovery resources is now underway. That series started last night. Tonight, there's going to be a meeting focused on residents of wards 11 and 12. That's going to be held at the Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club on North Grand. It runs from 5:30 to 7. The mayor, some of the aldermen, and representatives from FEMA will all be there. Sports-wise, the Cardinals' win streak ended on Monday. They lost to the Pirates 7-0 in Pittsburgh. Same two teams play this afternoon at 5:40. As usual, FanDuel has that game. The Redbirds are in third place in the division, but they are only 3 games behind the first place Cubs.
Destination, making cold mind to fight your war. Stop it right now.
Well, there you go again, listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Blow us all away. You wanna do that now? Get up, in case you hear the alarm.
Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At US Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With US Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
US Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With US Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose US Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. US Med. Better service, better care. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380.
I really like all the things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
The perfect body, the perfect face. It's like God's best work, all in one place. From the haters, ain't perfection. Can't you say? It's a burden being wonderful like me.
Hi, this is Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow with a reminder to check out our new show, Jeffco Patriot Radio, this and every Sunday at high noon. Now, back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
We don't need AI for a mockumentary song like Steel Panther on this show.
That's pretty awesome.
No AI needed.
I would love to see a Spinal Tap made about Steel Panther.
Yeah, do you know that they are remastering This Is Spinal Tap, and they're re-releasing it? So
that's awesome.
That might actually bring me back to the theater.
That might actually do it.
We'll have to,
This Is Spinal. I love This Is Spinal Tap.
We'll have to have a viewing party in Gabe's basement.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my goodness.
Big screens all for you.
All right.
All for you guys.
Here's a question, guys. Who's cool and who's uncool? Apparently, there's now a list of the criteria. To be cool.
They went all formal with
it.
But here's a criteria I would like: fiscal responsibility, or fiscal responsible, or trying to stop the bleeding, financially speaking. The state of Missouri's government growth and how your tax dollars are involved. That's the discussion that's coming your way at 8:35.
Yeah, because the governor, line item vetoed hundreds of millions of dollars of spending, or froze between the two, and so great. Absolutely. Does that count as the state government being fiscally responsible? So we're going to visit with Camelia at 8:35 about that. All right. Are you cool?
I'm through being cool.
You're done being cool. You're so cool. You're tired of being cool.
I am like a Monet painting of cool. So from a distance, I might look cool, but you get up close and just like, oh, he's a nerd. Oh, wow. I didn't realize.
So there is now a study that claims to list what traits make somebody cool, because of course there's nothing cool about saying, do I comply with the study about what's cool?
It's like, you know why I'm cool? Here's the criteria
That's
that
right.
I have accomplished for being cool.
There's a paper.
I wrote a white paper on why I'm so cool.
Is this a Big Bang Theory skit or something?
I know that's okay. So here's
Sheldon came up with this list.
A new study looked at what makes people cool, and it comes down to, according to the study, 6 traits. So
6
everybody assess yourself,
self-assessment,
to see if you are about to be considered cool officially and
Okay.
academically. One,
do I get a card after this? Maybe
well,
okay.
decide whether you're cool or not. Being extroverted.
Hey,
you're screwed, babe.
Hey,
I would consider myself a social introvert. Like, I like being out and about and around people, but like I don't need to be around people, if that makes sense.
I can fake being an extrovert, and I do that at church all the time.
The funny part is I have the older I get, the more introverted I become. I am a mix of introvert and extrovert.
Now, the way I interpret it, by the way, introvert versus extrovert, I interpret it as basically the flow of energy. Like if you are energized by being around people, you're an extrovert. My daughter, if she's been like, with a group of people and she comes back home, she's still brimming with it. She's bouncing off the freaking walls. If I come back from having been out with a bunch of people, I'm exhausted. So that's how I interpret my introversion. It's just that it takes so much energy to put out just to be with people, which is why you tend to avoid it, because I don't like to be that exhausted.
Leave it to Gabe to use energy atrophy as an example of human interaction.
Yes, here's my entropic analysis of human interaction with
There you go.
the species.
How about this one? The other trait is adventurous, being adventurous.
Oh, yeah.
Why would that make you cool, though?
Because you would not be as predictable, and you're open to something unique and something new.
The Dos Equis guy.
Oh,
he wouldn't be as interesting
That's
if he
true.
just sat in a bar, drink by himself. He'd be
That's
sad.
right. That's a good point.
Or, I mean, he would say, I don't always do my taxes. And, I mean, if you just did the normal.
But if
stuff.
I do.
But if I do,
I draw a middle finger to the government.
Okay, which I think would make you cool.
Yeah.
And they said the other trait is being open.
Okay.
I'm assuming that would mean transparent, I guess.
No.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure I agree with that one either. I'm kind of where Jerome's tracking here.
Well, the openness, I guess, if you're describing basically being open to new thoughts, new ideas, new experiences,
that's
and things like
adventurous.
that. But that's the adventurous thing. Yeah, I don't know what
See,
open. What does
I think
open
now
mean?
with open, I think you should be honest.
Sure. Yes.
But I think some of the coolest people out there are a little mysterious.
Yes. You need that air of mystique around you.
Yeah.
Mystery, I think, is part of coolness.
Okay. Autonomous.
Well, sure. You can't.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, if if you're coming out of mom's basement asking where your pizza rolls are at, you're not cool.
No, if you are dependent on other people, you are not cool. Which is why, like, you see every once in a while one of these like so-called influencer creator types. They get exposed for like living on, like there was one woman I saw, and apparently this was a real. I looked up and found the local news story. So she was making money off of TikTok or whatever, making apparently pretty good money. And then it turns out that she's on every welfare program you can be on. Somebody reported her.
Good.
And then she lost basically her entire audience because, well, you're not cool anymore. You're just literally living off government.
The public dime.
Point.
Yeah. Go back to it.
Now, here's going to be one of the interesting ones here. This is going to be maybe one of those signs of the times or trends in and out. According to the study, if you want to be cool, one of the 6 traits is that you've got some degree of hedonism.
No, gosh, what?
That's what it says.
That's coolness.
That's apparently coolness here.
Yeah, see, that's some.
Let me challenge you here a little bit.
Some godless society bullcrap right there. That's what that is.
But is that what's cool? I mean, I know that that's not you,
right?
But is that?
Yeah, but is it a criteria? I know plenty of people who would be
There's
regarded
a study, Gabe,
who be regarded as cool, who are not hedonists.
Right.
I mean, what kind of garbage is that? I guess. Well, what's the interpretation of that? Is it that basically you're a pleasure seeker?
Yes, you are. You're basically, if you're around this person, there's going to be some wild times, and we're breaking the rules, and we're,
Yeah. No. See, that sounds like the worst version of adventurous to me.
Okay.
That sounds like the type of adventurous that gets you thrown into jail.
They're not arguing that cool is right and cool is the right thing to do. Is just arguing what's cool.
It gets you a record and a venereal disease. That's what that kind of thing gets.
You're not sounding very 80s right now, dude.
No.
Now, I think Righty Right on Rumble makes a great point. Which, by the way, I ran into Righty Right. We saw him at Nutrition Stops Organic Barbecue the other day. It was great to see him. He says, "How can someone who doesn't listen to Mike Ferguson in the morning be cool? You can't.
They just can't.
You just
see
can't.
there.
Exactly. That's
scientifically
that's
impossible.
Study as well.
Yes,
exactly.
Okay, so those are the criteria
weird
that was used. Oh, I'm sorry. One more because that was 5. Powerful.
Okay, I guess. Well, what do you mean powerful?
Powerful meaning that I read into that to say that basically you walk into the room and people notice, and you're going to have some influence, and people are going to look to you now whether or not they like or dislike or agree or disagree. You are a force to be reckoned with to some level of whatever the situation.
So you have
is.
presence.
Yes. I think that's probably
presence is probably a better way.
Wallflowers don't tend to establish themselves as cool.
That's true. You don't even notice that they're there.
Right. So, and then now, by the way, this story is in the New York Times is where we found this. So it also goes on to say, if none of those 6 traits fit you well, it doesn't mean necessarily you're not cool. You just don't fit the current definition of cool because things change. Because at one point, I mean, being cool meant you obeyed all the rules, you were hip to be square and, all that kind of stuff. But because I mean, it's obviously a very, very soft definition.
It's
thing
weird.
here.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Something that just kind of popped on TV just now is the idea that the original Spider-Man trilogy, is coming back to theaters. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Right.
Spider-Man was not. I mean, Peter Parker is not a cool kid, right? He's a nerdy kid. Spider-Man is cool.
Clark Kent
is a nerdy guy. Superman is freaking cool.
Yeah.
Right. I think heroism, basically the traits that go along with heroism, are cool.
That would be the powerful part.
It's powerful, adventurous. You're willing to take risks, but in order to do the right thing, right? So it's opposite of the hedonism.
So it's basically, how do we make those traits be for the right reasons?
Right.
Now, I want to quickly just judge how cool our audience is.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. With you guys. So Steve Gross said that he's an extrovert as long as you leave him the heck alone.
I respect that. I actually respect that.
Rattlesnake says, or Rattlesnake, gotta say the snack.
Yes.
Hedonism is not cool. It's
right?
Immature and narcissistic, which I agree.
I agree with that too. I agree. Now they're saying that the immature and narcissistic trait is cool, is what they're saying. But I agree that hedonism is immature and narcissistic.
Kathleen says that she is starting to think the people who made the list of things that are cool are definitely not cool.
Nice. That's a good judgment.
Okay,
And-
how about? Oh, I'm sorry. There's more. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say,
Yeah.
so it looks like it's cool not to be cool unless
Yeah.
you listen to us, is what
Right.
the general consensus is.
Okay, now here's a related thing: is somebody else said, "All right, let's take that list and overall, who are people that we used to think were cool,
Okay.
who are now not cool?"
Interesting.
And
okay.
they actually the list here, I'm like, oh, I can see where they're coming from. That
Okay, they did a list.
like who used to be, whether we were big fans or not, who are people who used to be cool, and now you look at them and you're like, really?
P. Diddy.
yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I think that was
historically speaking,
I think
yes.
that one's just assumed.
That's
yeah.
just assumed. Yes, exactly. Bill Cosby is another one.
Yeah, that's another one on
like
there.
a lot of us thought he was
Yep.
really cool. Hey, that's a cool guy. Yeah, no, not so much.
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry. Yep. People loved Katy Perry.
Yeah,
back in the day.
she was on top of the world.
quite the
at
darling.
one
She
point.
was Taylor Swift before Taylor Swift.
Right. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, people don't like Aaron Rodgers.
People
anymore?
don't like Aaron Rodgers.
Interesting.
Because remember, he was like he was the underdog, quarterback that I say underdog, he's one of the most successful quarterbacks there, but
Yeah.
he happened to be playing in the era of Tom Brady,
Yeah.
and he was, behind Packers, behind
Green-
Brett Favre. He
Brett
was
Favre,
for
that's
a
right.
long time.
That's
and then he
right.
came into his own, and then, he got into commentary, and he's he got kind of into the conservative / bordering on conspiracy theory space.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of people probably who like him in that space, but overall he kind of lost his coolness to a lot of people.
Right.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, actually, I would put in there. People look
Yeah.
at him as like the cool science man.
Originally,
and-
like way back when he was just
Yeah.
doing simple commentary and not ruining everybody's fun by saying something stupid.
Because he says lots of stupid stuff.
He's like he's the well actually guy.
Yeah.
and Bill Nye in that same
Oh,
regard.
And they say, Bill Nye.
Bill Nye is a
his fall off
moron.
was huge.
Oh,
his fall off was huge.
But that's another great example. Somebody's
Mhm.
like, he is really cool, and Bill Nye, I'm like, he's a fraud and an idiot.
Absolutely. Yes.
Alec Baldwin.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
When was he cool?
No, he had a run. Like, you go back to like when he was in Beetlejuice and that 80s and 90s era. He was a cool guy and
among the it people.
He really was. Bill Belichick, Justin Bieber, JD Vance.
Oh.
Because remember when
JD Vance used to be cool, but now
remember
he's
when-
not.
Well, when Hillbilly Elegy came out before he ran for the Senate.
Oh yeah, okay. You got to remember
Yep.
who's making this list,
Right.
I actually
Is this
think he's
list
cooler now, though.
Yeah, I think he's cooler now.
Yeah, but he appealed to everybody,
Right.
and then you pick a side.
Mhm.
Drake,
Okay. Yeah.
Prince Harry,
I heard about that one.
yeah, and Katy Perry.
See, the interesting thing is, I never thought any of these people were
Yeah,
that cool.
I know. Also, Katy Perry.
It's like God's best work, all in one place. For the haters ain't perfection, can't you say? It's a burden being wonderful like me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
Always be yourself, unless you suck.
on NewsTalkSTL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Great news. The cold front is now to the south, which means we're going to steadily feel that humidity dropping throughout the day today. Temperatures near 87 degrees. Today is actually the coolest day that we will have for some time. Mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, in the 70s overnight, back in the 90s tomorrow. The humidity begins to creep up by Friday. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Fox News commentary.
LA's sanctuary madness just got trumped by AG Bondi. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Sponsored by AxeCap Ventures. America, listen up. Gold prices are breaking records. With inflation raging and central banks hoarding, every American should own gold. And like President Trump said, whoever holds the gold makes the rules. AxeCap Ventures owns one of Nevada's largest undeveloped gold deposits and trades for pennies on the dollar. This could be your way to ride the gold boom. AxeCap trades under GARLF on the OTC. Visit axecapventures.ca today.
Los Angeles might be fine with aiding and abetting illegal immigration, but that won't work for President Trump. AG Pam Bondi announced the administration is suing LA over its sanctuary policies, alleging they interfere with federal immigration law as well as impede federal agents from performing their enforcement duties. Bondi added those policies are also a driving cause of the violence, chaos, and attacks on law enforcement. That was certainly the case during the LA riots. The DOJ points to the supremacy clause that prohibits lawless cities like LA and others from flouting federal immigration law and just doing whatever the heck they want. The lawsuit has been a long time coming. Truth is, lawlessness, especially immigration lawlessness, doesn't just impact LA or California. Those policies make us all less safe, and it's about time this administration uses its Trump card to lay down the law. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my good friend Harry Parker and the ultimate seafood dining experience at Gulf Shores, GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com. Gulf Shores offering a unique dining experience with a vast, mouth-watering menu of all of your favorite delicious dishes, something for everyone's taste or palate. 3 convenient locations, Edwardville, Creve Coeur, and St. Peter's. Dine in, carry out. They've got a food truck, too. Friendly staff, looking forward to seeing you, making your dining experience one you will remember. Gulf Shores RestaurantandGrill.com.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game. It's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody. It's our favorite song.
This is Victor Scott II, and there's something for everyone at Busch Stadium. Meet us at the ballpark on Sunday, July 13th, as the Cardinals take on the Braves. 20,000 fans ages 16 and up will score a slick retro warm-up jersey courtesy of Mercy, and 10,000 kids 15 and under can grab a one-of-a-kind Cardinals basketball thanks to the Pasta House Company. It's fun for the whole family. Don't miss it. Get tickets at cardinals.com/promotion. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
What happens next?
For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people.
Happens right here.
We've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hi, this is Susie Moore. Check out my show, Red State Radio, Sunday afternoon at 4, right here on News Talk STL. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, are we at the stage, or are we at the point of being fiscally responsible in Missouri, or are we just at that, this is a good start stage? And then more importantly, where do we go from here?
Now, I would like to issue a quick reminder, though. There will be no Flashback Friday this week because of the 4th of July. We're not going to be here, and hopefully you all are going to have a great time. But for Thursday, you can submit to us your best America music. It doesn't have to be from the 80s. It can be from any era, as long as it represents what you feel makes us feel patriotic and represents 4th of July.
There you go. All right, joined by Camelia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity. Okay, so interesting announcement by the governor yesterday, and I've had it in kind of our news update throughout the morning here. The governor posts a video, and he signs the state budget, and he says that, hundreds of millions of dollars are being vetoed through the line item veto, and other spending restrictions are being put on there. Obviously, that's, I hopefully everybody says, okay, great. There's some restraint on that. One of the governor's opponents, Bill Eigel, says the budget will still be over $1 billion out of balance, spending far more than we expected to take in. And yet another record-setting budget with another record for wasteful spending. And then he criticizes the governor as well. So how do we assess this objectively, Camelia? Is it a matter of, okay, we could do better, but we're moving in the right direction? Or should we feel good about some fiscally sound principles being applied? Or is there some other way to assess where we're at before we can decide where we go from here?
Well, good morning. I always like to say that it's a good day to say no to your government. And I do kind of feel like that Governor Kehoe kind of said no to the government yesterday, which made me very happy, right? But yes, I mean, like, I do think that it would be more appropriate to say that this is just a good step in the right direction, right? I think it's a significant step, and I think that it was important for him to demonstrate that he recognizes the need to cut spending and that this is a problem in Missouri. So overall, I mean, $2.23 billion, like a large chunk of that was the MoDOT stuff that, he said was really probably, they didn't pass the law that authorizes federal funds. But I mean, I'll take even that, because the truth is, even if some of that number were funds that were going to come from the federal government, we're entirely too dependent on the federal government as well. So I think we take the wins where we can get them, and I would definitely consider this a win. And I really appreciated that when he talked about this, that he talked about the trade-offs. He said, if we are going to do things, and he laid this at the feet of, the legislature for, increasing DESE funding, at record levels, much higher than what he had put in there. And even he had put more than they've had before as far as an increase. He said, if we're going to do those things, if we are going to cut taxes, all of these, the things that a lot of people want for Missouri, he said, and if we are going to look at, eliminating, the income tax next year, he said, we have to cut spending. And so, did we get all the spending cuts we could have gotten and would like, in, this particular budget? Of course not. But I do think that, a governor who is willing to publicly acknowledge that and stress that issue, and then make the cuts that he did in the line item vetoes, like, I think that that's a real positive.
Okay, so I also want to take a little sidestep on the thing you just gave me a heads up on a few minutes ago, Camelia, and that is one of the biggest wins, I would say, for our side was increasing the school choice for the Most Scholars program. Now we've got, the public education establishment, some of the activists there suing to try to stop that. What is it that we know about that so far?
Yes, I just saw this just a few minutes before it came on the air, but apparently the Missouri NEA is filed a suit to stop the $50 million appropriation to the Most Scholars Missouri School Choice Program. That was something that was a really high priority for Governor Kehoe. He feels really strongly about expanding school choice. So it's probably not entirely unexpected. So I think that they have anticipated this to a certain extent. But basically, they're trying to say that this has never been done before, and you can't, allocate this money out of the general fund into this school choice program. And basically, what they're mad about is that they're calling this vouchers, and I'm like, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
these are vouchers for, that's good.
Because it basically went from, went from the tax credit program to a full-on voucher. When we're proactively putting money into it, it becomes essentially a voucher. I mean, they're not wrong about that, but voucher programs have been upheld as legal in other parts of the country.
Absolutely. And, I know voucher has been a dirty word, kind of in the school choice realm for a long time now. But let's just be transparent and real about this. It's vouchers is what we want. Like, we want the money to follow the child. And if you want to call that a voucher, then so be it. But it is time. And I've said multiple times about this, that I really do believe that this was Governor Kehoe's way of kicking open the door and breaking the mold on what we have been stuck in. Missouri is so behind all of the other states that are making progress in this, and it really is detrimental for the kids of Missouri. So I really love that this has been such a priority for him. And this is what we want. We want the money to follow the child.
Okay, so let's take one last question on this, and then I want to kind of go back to where we go from here. When if the worst case scenario happens, let's say the Missouri NEA wins the legal action, which I don't think they will, but if they did, that's not saving us money, because then the money would just be redirected back into the failed public school system, government school system anyway. So, that's not a net savings if they win. They just want the money into a slush fund for themselves. They don't want it going to parents who are, going to be more efficient with the money and more targeted with the money. So there's my initial thought on that. We're visiting with Camelia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity with Missouri. Yeah, I didn't know if you had an assessment of what happens, but we don't save money if they win. And it's a way of, we're not saving money by them putting it into the Most Scholars program. It's just a better use of the money.
Right. Well, and they literally say, their quote is that it's a scheme to divert general revenues to what are essentially vouchers for the payment of private school tuition for elementary and secondary school students. Well, yes, it is.
How dare you spend the money and give it to somebody else? Don't you know we have a monopoly? We want a monopoly. Yeah, that's where it is.
Right.
Okay, so it's also maybe it's just the optics, but it's also not a great look that, not that long after the legislature was convened in order to put together a corporate welfare package worth about $2 billion and offered up to billionaire owners of sports teams, that we're suddenly now saying we've got to be really fiscally responsible and cuts, and we got to watch our spending, right after people are still pretty ticked off. Many people are still ticked off about, that kind of corporate welfare. So basically two things can be true at the same time. That was a debacle of a special session, and the governor's making some good points now, but the governor was the driving force behind all the corporate welfare. So where do we go from here? And what do we know about what his fiscal plan and what his basically his outlook and thought process is going to be moving forward?
So I think that there is a lot of we've talked about this before. I can acknowledge the reality of the dilemma that the governor was in when it comes to the stadium subsidy issue, and I actually and I don't like it at all. But I also think that it probably could have been much worse than what it was, because we've seen that happen across the country many times. And so it probably was not so good enough that, both teams were griping about it. And now, Kansas Royals may not even, but aside from that, I think that, where we are now, I do think that Kehoe is looking forward, and he has reaffirmed multiple times recently that he's committed to prioritizing. Number one priority for the next legislative session is eliminating the income tax. I think the details of what that look like are still a little bit up in the air, because it's not going to happen overnight. It may take a few, maybe take a few year phase out, but I don't think it's going to be a long phase out, right? Because he knows that that's not what's going to work. So, there are going to have to be, there's a lot of hurdles to go with that. And I think that there is the reality that you can't just not replace any of the income. So we're going to have to adjust our taxing structure in other ways, which I think is a good thing. I think we need to change how we do taxes. If we're going to do taxes, let's do them in a way that makes more sense for the people of Missouri and that is more transparent. So I'm hoping, and this is one of my goals personally in my role for AFP, that we will see legislation that really targets more waste in our government and spending, because I know people think, it's a little bit here and it's a little bit there, but those little things that are sitting there on the books, really inflating and growing the number of what the bottom line looks like, it's important to cut all that stuff out, because it adds up, and we really need to look for ways to do that if we're talking, because especially we have to have our ducks in a row at the state level, because we have so little control over what goes on at the federal level, and we need to have our economy in line here.
Yeah, maybe because, what's one thing to shift how we tax away from income tax and onto whether it's, consumption and sales taxes, away from property taxes onto what, and that's all, that's a fair debate. I want to see the income tax, eliminated. I want to see property taxes addressed with, but none of that's going to work if we don't stop the spending. And that doesn't mean, we're not going to spend as much as we thought we were going to. We're not growing as much as possible. It's almost become cliche in conservative circles. But the reality is, until you are spending fewer dollars than you did last year, it's going to be harder and harder to cut the taxes.
Yes. And, I think one of my favorite, with our previous budget chair, Cody Smith, one of my favorite quotes ever from, I think it was Peter Meredith, when he was still in office on the Democrat side, was that he said that one thing you knew about Cody Smith is that we could have a surplus or, extra money, and he would still be determined to spend less, something that's paraphrasing. But I was like, yes, that is what we want. I think Dirk Deaton in the House is cut out of that same cloth. So we will definitely keep trying. But you're 100% right. Like, cutting spending is where it has to happen.
Yeah, and it has to be a real cut as well. So we
Yes.
know there are lawmakers who buy into that, but they're going to have to be able to get through the meat grinder of what happens in Jeff City. And at least we have time to now, between now and the next legislative session, to work up and hopefully have that plan. I suspect that there's probably a lot of those conversations happening right now, Camelia, and I wouldn't frankly be surprised if you and your colleagues aren't involved in them.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's like top of my mind, takes up a lot of my time right now. And I will say, it's in that vein, like, I would love for people to be involved and pay attention, because there is a special, like, I know property taxes and how we deal with that is a big deal. What we've seen with state tax commission and their role in that, there's a lot of things that need to be dealt with. And there is a special interim committee on property tax reform that is starting to meet right now. Like, all of their information is on there, and people are welcome to reach out if you want me to help you get plugged into, like, keeping up with that, because they will be going around the state, and they want input from people. They want to hear from you about what we need to address with this, how we can make it better. Because I think that's the question, because this committee has been given wide latitude for how to deal with the property tax issue, because they'll be having a special session about it during veto session in September.
All right. And people want to connect with you to take you up on that offer right there. What's the way to do it, Camelia?
Best way to do it is on social media, AFP Missouri. I see all of that. So if you flag me on there and say, hey, I want to know about what you said, I'll get in touch with you. Also, go to afpmissouri.com, and you can kind of see what all we have going on there as well.
All right, Camelia, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks so much.
Have a great day, everyone.
All right, 314-912-1019. See, the thing is that so much of that work that happens during the legislative session, the groundwork is being laid quietly now. And then we have the knockdown drag out between January and May. But the lawmakers are working on their stuff right now. So these conversations that are happening right now, there may not necessarily be front and center in the public eye, but there's work being done on it. And the good guys are working on it already too.
I am just a man, not superhuman. I'm not superhuman. Someone save me from the haze. It's just another war. Just another family draw.
Springtime in St. Louis means one thing. That's right. Golf is back, baby. Sugar Creek Golf Course is located in High Ridge, just 10 minutes from 270 and Gravois. To book your tee time or to learn more about the special event and banquet facilities, simply visit sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
Some things never go out of style, like standing for the national anthem, barbecue at the family picnic, and fireworks on the 4th. This Friday,
4th of July.
Let's celebrate our freedoms.
God bless America.
From your local American favorites, M&T Farms Cool Cow Cheese, Lee May Concrete Block, Gerald Cafe, Hometown Market, and News Talk STL.
If you're worried about losing your health insurance through Medicaid, we have great news for you. New government regulations have expanded the Affordable Care Act. And now you may qualify to get health insurance for you and your family through the Affordable Care Act. Call now to learn if you qualify. We know the healthcare regulations regarding Medicaid, and we've helped thousands of people find quality, affordable health insurance. Plus, all our research is free to you. So call us. With just one call, we'll shop from hundreds of different insurance companies to find you the right affordable health insurance plan. So if you're worried about losing your Medicaid insurance, call right now. Speak with a licensed agent and find how you may qualify for a new health insurance plan.
800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. That's 800-479-0931. Paid for by the Health Insurance Hotline.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The tornado back in May destroyed schools in North City. Susan Pendergrass of Show Me Institute will tell us the plan for all these students in the upcoming school year.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
Okay, so we're going into the 24th hour now. I think we're in the 24th hour now of the so-called votorama in the U.S. Senate. Basically, it's all a big hot mess.
Yeah,
is what's happening. And you said, you were just telling me a second ago, somebody was asking on social media, why can't they just do all these things as an individual bill?
Which I think a lot of us,
they could, but they won't.
Yeah, one that they probably could, and two, I think that's a lot how a lot of people are thinking about these omnibus bills and these giant bills is, there are things in there that we clearly should all want, and there are things in there that it's like, why the heck did this get attached to that? Why can't they just go through and do it one at a time?
Right.
But you might have a better explanation for why that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically for lack of a better term, the art of politics. My thing in my district isn't going to be something I can get everybody to support as a separate bill, but that guy over there needs something that's in the same situation. And if I trade my thing for his thing, I'll back your thing. If you back my thing, we can get added to this other thing that nobody's going to pay attention to. And then I get it delivered for my constituents. So think of it this way as Congress being 535 people walking around with one hand on their wallet and the other hand trying to get into everybody else's wallet. And that's essentially what we have. And right now, it would be more transparent and honest if all of these amendments were separate bills. However, they're all being put onto this reconciliation spending plan, hence the chaos that we have right now. And don't get me wrong, chaos is the tactic. And that is a tactic of the Democrats being the minority party. And if the Republicans were the minority party, they would probably be trying to do chaos as a tactic. And we would probably be trying to cheer them on in order to stop what the other side's doing. The other part is the deep state, the administrative state. They know that the better the chaos, the more the chaos, the better the chance they have of putting something in that's unknown and slides through the process that doesn't get noticed, doesn't get vetted, doesn't get scored, doesn't get picked up on the media. And then it gets signed into law. And then somebody reads it and goes, wait a minute, how did this get through? And we're mad at the politicians who passed it because they never saw it. Now it's their responsibility to see it, but that's part of chaos as a tactic. And that's how we're governing right now.
And of course, that leads into the other issue. It's when we have things that we desperately want, a lot of the two-way stuff that we wanted,
right.
And cutting the illegals off Medicaid, is that
which failed, by the way.
Failed.
So illegal aliens are still going to be eligible for Medicaid under the way this bill is right now,
because of the fact that it's the idea is, well, we can drop this stuff if it means getting all this other stuff passed through, and that's sort of my fear, and I think probably a lot of people's fears is that it's going to only be the things that we don't really want to be left in the bill that are going to be left in the bill, because we're going to negotiate and cut out the stuff that we actually should. And it shouldn't just be right and left, whatever. It should be, these are American things.
Right. And so the other aspect of this is that the Republicans are rushing to meet the president's deadline. Now, the deadline is not a legal deadline. It is an arbitrary symbolic date that the president said, I want this by this date. So a couple of things here. One, Congress needs to remember the president is not your boss. These are separate branches of government, in theory, separate and co-equal.
Yeah.
In theory. Now, that's not really how our politics has evolved over the years, practically. But the president doesn't run Congress, although right now the Republicans are acting like he does.
Yes.
So even if you agree with the goal, the smart thing to do would be say, all right, instead of this falling apart, we should all be able to agree that illegal aliens should not get Medicaid.
Absolutely.
You would think. And that failed. So at some point, Republicans need to either say, in Congress, need to say, Mr. President, we're not going to make your July 4th deadline. That doesn't change anything. We can still get this to you, but it's not going to be by July 4th. We are going to intentionally step back, go home for the holiday week. We'll have something to you, and we'll try for something by the end of the month when we can do it with a little more order and know what we're passing. Or, as Gabe said a little bit earlier, the president could exercise some tremendous leadership and say, you guys are a mess. Let's reset. Now let's set a goal of July 31st. The important thing is these tax cuts have to be made permanent by the end of the year. But in order to not risk that getting caught up in chaos at the end of the year, let's get this done by the end of July. And, listen, he's rolled back deadlines on tariffs, on TikTok. It's not like he hasn't done this in other things.
Yes.
So this would not be out of the ordinary, even though he put his foot down and slammed his fist down and said, I want this by then. The Senate, the House, they don't work for the president, regardless of the party. Is he the de facto leader of the party? Absolutely. That doesn't mean that he's the boss. And he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
They should be working with each other. He's setting the tone. He's setting the agenda. No issue with that whatsoever. But as far as micromanaging where, when, and how it all gets done, that's what the senators are elected to do. And so that's where we need to go from here to say, we're the leading nation in this world. Let's govern like it, because right now, the more the chaos, the more the confusion, the more people don't vet what's being thrown in there, the better the chance of something bad happening. So let's use our heads here.
Yes.
All right. Vic Porcelli coming your way here in just about 5 minutes on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL. Let's go ahead and get you the news update, the information segment with an update on what's happening in Washington, D.C. in about 30 seconds.